Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the most unsettling FNAF fan games ever made. These games don't always need huge jump scares or non-stop action to scare you. They simply create a constant feeling that something is horribly wrong. Some of these made me uncomfortable just sitting there waiting for something to happen, so let's dive into them. Roblox horror games. Something that is pretty atypical for this channel. In fact, I've only talked about Roblox horror games twice on this channel before. One video being about Rainbow Friends and the other about Pressure. However, recently I've been getting suggested a couple Roblox FNAF games to play. I always knew there were FNAF games on Roblox. In fact, there's a couple of Roblox games that place really high on the official max mode list. Of course, I did always intend on getting around to playing these games, and if you follow Dexter Black, you'll see that I have played a couple, and the game that we're covering here today is one of those games. A reimagining of one of the most hated official Five Nights at Freddy's games of all time, fixing all of its problems and introducing several new mechanics that make the game feel fresh, while also looking so graphically impressive you'd be surprised to hear it was even made in Roblox at all. So join me today as we dive into the world of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 Reimagined. In terms of the game's overall story, not a whole lot has changed. At least, that is up until the end. We'll obviously talk about that later, so if you were hoping for a massive lore dump, hate to break it to you, it's pretty much just the official lore with a few changes. However, it's still told very well. Night 1 starts the way most do. You get a phone call from the phone guy, Ryan. Ryan gives us the basic rundown of what's going on, what we're doing, and how to do it. So I suppose that means it's also my turn to do the same for you. Except I'll throw in a couple dick jokes along the way, and then after the video is over, you could read the comments to find the few comedy police who say something along the lines of, "Gah, I was really liking this video, but the amount of inappropriate jokes really just took me out of it." I'm glad it took you out of it. Us normal people who aren't afraid to laugh at stupid jokes are gonna continue to have fun. Keep seething. To start, there are many things that have stayed the same. Of course, the office layout is pretty much identical, 2 vents to the right and left of you, and a big open hallway in front. The camera setup has been left exactly the same as well, so at least we don't have to relearn the basics. What is different about the office, however, is the breaker box, which can be found behind you. Opening it, we can find breakers to several of the cameras around the map, and I'll explain why this is important a bit later. One thing I do want to point out right now, though, is why we whip around at breakneck speed. Seriously, look at how violent this animation is. Calm down, buddy. You're gonna give yourself whiplash. Dude, why the fuck does dude move so much? He turns around, he fucking whips. Look at him. Fuck, it ain't that deep, bro. Anyways, the next thing I want to talk about is your flashlight, as that has also been changed slightly. To start, you'll notice there is no longer a battery life to your flashlight. So you may be wondering how Balloon Boy is supposed to work without his integral mechanic. Well, hold your dick, little spastic. You're getting way too far ahead of yourself. Let's slow it down and take this little by little. Your flashlight is now used to flash not only the hallway, but the 2 vents as well, as now the vents don't have their own dedicated button. Before we continue on, there's also one little thing I do want to point out about your office I thought was funny. If you take a look at the clock on your desk, you'll see a coffee mug is blocking the second set of digits, probably so that the developers didn't have to actually program the clock ticking second by second. This literally plays no role in importance in the entirety of the game. I just think it's fun to see the way devs are able to cut corners sometimes. Anyways, moving on to the first threat this night introduces, those being Toy Chica and Toy Bonnie. Oh shit, damn, oh damn, mama. Sorry. Boing. They work the exact same way they do in the original with some minor tweaks. For one, if you weren't aware, let me give you a quick fun fact about Five Nights at Freddy's 2. If you dig through the game files, you'll be able to find an unused asset for Toy Chica. It's never seen throughout the game and was originally intended to be used to allow her to glide across your office like Toy Bonnie does. It's even completely coded in, but it's never called in the actual game. Well, Reimagined brings this back, and in a big way.
Both Bonnie and Chica will enter your office after being in your vents. However, unlike the original, where you can see both Toy Bonnie and Toy Chica staring at you in the vents, in Reimagined, they instead chose to bolt through your vents at the speed of sound, giving you no time to see them in your vent. When you hear them coming, you have to put the mask on fast. Like, I'm talking fast as shit. These guys aren't playing around at all. If they get their hands on you, they're gonna rock your world. I'm talking tie your own dick into a noose and make you hang yourself with it. Ooh. God, no, not that. I meant to fucking put the mask on, bro. I meant to put the mask on. That jump scare was insane, by the way. Seriously, I'm probably not going to get around to showing you each of these jump scare animations, but you should go check them all out because these animations are clean as fuck. This entire game looks super clean. Keep in mind, this is Roblox. It is so impressive how good this game really looks. Anyways, moving on to talking about the game. More specifically, Night 2 and the new threats it introduces. Hold up, Dexter. What about the marionette? Does she not become active on this night? No, dear viewer. No, she doesn't. In fact, the marionette is completely absent from this game. That's right, FNAF 2 Reimagined removed the music box mechanic from this game entirely. So, with my dick as hard as a rock from getting that information delivered to me, let's happily heel click our way into Night 2. Night 2 only introduces one new threat, but it's a big one, Withered Foxy. Now, I want you to pause real quick. I promise you, he is nowhere near as carpal tunnel inducing as he is in the original. In the original, Withered Foxy would appear in your hallway. You'd have to spam your control key to flash your light at him until he disappears. Every time you'd flash, an invisible value would increase by 1, and when it reached 20, he would go away. He also showed up frequently as fuck, making him the second most annoying character in the entire game, right after Toy Bonnie. So, how does Reimagined fix him? Well, he actually has two different mechanics. The first still has him enter your hallway. He'll make a breathing sound cue when he does. All you have to do is hold the light on him for a little bit and he'll leave. No spamming required. However, if you hear this sound cue and for some reason don't see him in your hallway, that means he's either in camera 1, 2, 3, or 4. You will have to find which camera he's in and use your flash beacon, which, by the way, is just a beam of light I've chosen not to mention so far. When you do, he'll fuck right off. Perfect. Something interesting about the phone call on Night 2 is that Ryan called us in the first place. At the end of the Night 1 phone call, he said he wouldn't be calling us again because the boss, presumably William Afton, is breathing down his neck. So getting a call on Night 2 is surprising. He said he saw William inputting new parts into the old robots. He also tells us that these old models are very aggressive, which is interesting because usually the phone guys in these games will refuse to tell us anything about what's going on. Night 3 introduces two new threats, those being Mangle and Withered Freddy. Mangle is the easiest to understand, so let's start with her. She follows a very basic path, starting at the prize corner and making her way into your hallway. From there, she'll just crawl across the ceiling into your office rather than entering the right vent like in the original. Of course, all you need to do is put the mask on and it's problem solved. Now, on to Withered Freddy, who is the second reason to look at your cameras aside from Withered Foxy. Freddy is not fooled by the mask, something that you may find interesting given the fact he is in the original. And I have a theory as to why he is this way. We know William is using new parts on the old characters, which is why they're moving. Well, Toy Freddy never activates throughout this game. He literally has no mechanics. So my theory is that William is using parts from Toy Freddy to make Withered Freddy move around. For what reason? That I don't have an answer to. Anyways, what does Freddy actually do? Well, he begins in the main room and will slowly walk throughout the building to your office. Since he's an older model like Foxy, he's very sensitive to light, so the flash beacon will push him back a camera. Every time he moves, he'll make a very noticeable sound cue, making it easy to keep track of him. Overall, a mechanic I'm not usually a huge fan of, but it does get some brownie points for having a sound cue associated with it, I suppose. It's also during the night 3 phone call we learn why Henry hasn't been showing up for work. Apparently his daughter died. Wow. Who would have thought? I wonder who could have possibly done that. Anyways, snooze fest bitches, night 4 time it is. Introducing the final 2 characters this game has to offer, Withered Bonnie and Withered Chica. Both do the exact same thing, but just attack different sides of your office. Bonnie will attack your left vent and Chica will attack your right. They're just like their toy variants with one key difference. They're not affected by your mask. So how do you deal with them? Well, let's be adults and use context clues like grown-ups. Both Withered Freddy and Withered Foxy are sensitive to light. So, given the fact that Bonnie and Chica are also both withered animatronics, it's safe to say they'd be sensitive to light too. So, when you hear them crawling in your vent, which it does have a different sound cue to the toys coming through your vent, thankfully, all you have to do is hold your flashlight on that vent until they arrive. Instead of just leaving, they will actually throw you into a Five Nights at Candy's 3 style minigame, where they will jump around your office and you'll have to keep your light held on them until they eventually run away like little piss babies. Night 4's phone call mentions that the back room is starting to smell really bad. Like, there's something rotting back there. Now, I'm no genius, believe it or not. I do talk about Five Nights at Freddy's for a living, but I'm gonna guess that that's because there's 5 dead children back there. Just a hunch, but I'm willing to bet I'm probably correct. Night 5 adds nothing new. However, I do want to use this time to talk about your breaker, since I haven't really done that yet. Occasionally, one of your cameras has the chance to randomly break and go out. When it does, all you have to do is turn around and reboot whichever camera went out. Super simple, and in all honesty, throughout my entire playthrough, which by the way you can see over on my second channel, Dexter Black, I actually rarely ever had this happen to me. And of course, another pretty important thing to bring up is the lack of characters in this game. Notably, Balloon Boy, the Marionette, Withered Golden Freddy, and Toy Freddy are completely absent and have no mechanics. And I actually think that the reasoning for this makes sense, if my reasoning is correct, that is. So, many of the characters in the original Five Nights at Freddy's 2 just do literally the exact same thing. Tell me what the difference between Toy Freddy and Withered Freddy are. Spoiler alert, there is no difference. In fact, the toy animatronics are actually disabled on nights 3 and 4 to instead be completely replaced by the Withereds. They serve no interesting purpose at all. You don't need Balloon Boy since there's no flashlight battery. The Marionette doesn't make sense since this game came up with a much better way to force you to look at the cameras. And Withered Golden Freddy isn't present for a lore reason which we'll be talking about in a bit. And by a bit, I mean right now. After completing night 5, we get this cutscene.
Michael, William just pulled into the parking lot. You need to get out of there now. Don't even bother with the parts and service room anymore. Just get the hell out. He knows you're in the middle of your shift. There's no other reason he would be there than to... Just get out. I'm waiting outside in my car right now. Let's get into the village. I called the police, but they won't be here for a while. This place is in the middle of nowhere. Wait. He's messing with something on the side of the building. Hold on.
Calm down. I'm not going to hurt you. He's afraid of me. He won't follow you in here even if he could.
How in the world are you talking to me?
What do you mean? I'm right here, aren't I?
You're not human. How could you talk to me?
I'm not human? Look at my hands right here. I'm talking to you right now.
But, never mind. Oh, this is insane. Who are you?
My name is Charlotte.
What the hell happened here?
He hurt us really bad. I was bleeding here, then I fell asleep. I can't move anymore.
You were bleeding?
Yes, I was bleeding right here, I think. After that, I don't remember much. Then I woke up.
Do you remember anybody else here with you?
My friends were here. He hurt them too. I tried to stop him, but the more I cried, the more it hurt. I just wanted them to be safe.
I'm sorry. You said he hurt us. Who is he?
You know who he is.
I believe I do. He's here right now. William.
I know that. He won't come in here anymore. He is afraid of me and my friends.
Are your friends the ones out there right now?
Yes, but they're confused and angry. They're looking for the one who did this to them.
Why are they so aggressive to me? I would never.
William was masked when he hurt us. They don't know who to blame. It doesn't help that you're wearing that uniform.
Why don't you just tell them?
It's not that easy. I can't talk to them the same way I can talk to you. They won't listen to me. I think they're still in shock.
How do you know the truth?
My father knew William. They were business partners. I never thought he would hurt us. I trusted him.
Do you really believe you're still human?
I don't feel any different. I can still see my hands and they look like my own. I just feel a little cramped. If I think about it too much, I'll go mad.
Where did William hide you and your friends after he hurt you?
I don't know. As I said, I fell asleep after he hit me.
Is there any way I can help you or your friends? Help you move on?
Burn this place to the ground.
But
It's the only way to help my friends. They'll get nothing from revenge. It'll only make them more confused.
okay, I can help you. Wait, one more thing.
Yes?
I haven't heard William in a couple of minutes. What is he doing right now?
Hiding, like a coward, waiting for me to kill you. He thinks I'm like the others. He believes that when my friends inevitably kill either you or Ryan, they'll get the closure they need to leave their bodies. It's a pipe dream, but his last resort. He's been trying to get us out for days now without destroying the characters.
Your father. You said he and William were business partners. His name is Henry, right?
Yes, his name is Henry. Please tell me he's alright.
I don't know. He's been looking for you. He filed a missing persons report to the police and he hasn't come into work for a week.
I don't want him to see me like this.
He'll find out the truth sooner or later. Okay, I think I'm ready.
Thank you for this. Break those pipes in the kitchen and you'll release flammable gas into the building. Do you have a lighter?
Of course.
William is hiding in the bathroom right now, waiting for you to walk down the hallway. Don't worry, my friends will find him shortly. They're relentless, as you would know. He doesn't have the slightest clue how aggressive they've gotten. It won't be pretty.
He'll get what he deserves.
That he will. Quiet. Listen. Quick, now's your chance. Let this place just become a bad memory.
So, we set William ablaze in typical FNAF fashion, and FNAF 2 Reimagined comes to a close. Kind of. When this game first came out, that is where the main story ended. However, months after, a DLC was released that introduced a sixth night. And that night is something so unique, I've only seen something like it once before.
Michael, you have a calling. Your efforts to save them, how selfless, have failed. They're still here with me. Charlotte, Oliver, Lucas, Ethan, and Zoe. I still remember their screams like it was yesterday. And they'll die again, and again, and again. Unless you come back to me and finish what you started. You're going to wish you never defined me.
Night 6 has us re-enter the restaurant after it burned down. We have one final task to complete, saving all of the children. This night reminds me heavily of the entire gameplay loop of A Shadow Over Freddy's, mainly in the way you move around, and the only threat present. As you could have probably been able to tell from the cutscene, William, of course, didn't die from that fire. William will randomly wander around the building. When you run into him, you will have to do something. I literally have no fucking idea what it is you have to do, though. I was never able to actually fully understand it. I got some comments from viewers over on Dexter Black, because apparently I was just completely fucking wrong. I know it has something to do with your flash burst, which you only have 3 of. Something along the lines of, when you see William, flash him? Kind of. Except it doesn't ever work. And even if you follow him into the next room he went into to try and flash him then, he'll just kill you instantly? I literally have no idea. Maybe I'm just retarded. Anyways, how do you actually save the kids? Well, behind the stage you'll find a crank. You will use this crank to muff up all of the withered animatronics around the building, who are now barely able to move. Each room that one of these characters are in are what's known as a safe room, meaning that William will not be able to catch you there. And if you have William's attention from him spotting you, you will lose said attention if you enter one of these safe rooms. Using these safe rooms is what I used while playing this game since I was too stupid to understand what I was actually supposed to do. Freddy's corpse is located in the kitchen, Bonnie is in the bathroom, Foxy is in some fucking room. I actually have no idea what the name of this room he's in is called, and Chica is in one of the party rooms. The big opening to the hallway is blocked off, so you'll have to do a pretty big loop around the building in order to get them all. When you go to use the crank on each of the animatronics, a long animation plays, and it's during these animations you can really see how scared these characters appear to be, really hitting home the fact that even though these characters are scary, they are still possessed by children, and you can really see the fear from them during these cutscenes, especially in Foxy's cutscene, which I feel shows how scared they are the most. After saving all the kids, you can go to the back room to save Golden Freddy, only for this to happen. Rotten hell.
I won't be going to hell. I'm going to watch the light leave your eyes, just as I did with them.
But why? What did they ever do to you? They're children.
She's awake. Are you done for good, Michael? You never give up. That's what I like.
I want you dead. That's what I want.
Oh, Michael. You never were a good listener.
And with that, that's truly where Five Nights at Freddy's 2 Reimagined comes to a close. A borderline perfect recreation of one of the community's most hated official FNAF titles. But now we have to ask the question, was a remake like this necessary? Did we really need someone to change the original game? I think the answer to that question is a resounding yes. Out of all of the official FNAF games, even though FNAF 2 isn't my least favorite, I can totally agree that it is the most boring and, in my opinion, the most uninspired. I mean, FNAF 2 only released 3 months after the first. That is not a lot of time in development for a game of any degree, and I think it really shows. From reusing mechanics from other characters to artificially inflate the roster, to having mechanics so utterly boring and bullshit like the music box in Withered Foxy, I truly think it's only fair to say that this game did Five Nights at Freddy's 2 better than Five Nights at Freddy's 2 ever could itself. Not only does this game look better, it plays better, sounds better, and is more enjoyable to play overall. Nothing feels too RNG based, and each character's mechanics are solid and unique enough. One of my biggest issues with the original Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is the fact that there is only one vent noise, but there are around 14 different instances where a vent noise plays, making the entire night a confusing, overstimulating mess. Of course, another very common problem people have with Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is the RNG. Of course, technically speaking, it can be beaten with no RNG, but that requires you to have a fuck ton of timers and a bunch of other bullshit, and normal people probably aren't going to be doing all that. What makes a horror game truly scary? Is it jump scares, atmosphere, build-up? Well, of course, all of these things together and more is what builds up a horror game to be something amazing. But I think if I had to choose one word to answer the question, what makes a horror game truly scary, my answer would be realism. In order for your game to be truly scary, I feel like the player has to be able to connect with your game on a personal level. And what better way to make that happen than to make the environment around them feel real? The game we'll be talking about today, I feel, pulled this off almost perfectly. A Five Nights at Freddy's fan game that was able to capture the real feel of an office, an environment, and realistic means of self-defense in a situation that seems so dire you'd think you'd never be able to make it out to tell the tale. The game we'll be covering today is Freddy's Reanimated, the most realistic FNAF game ever made. Reanimated does not begin like most FNAF games tend to. This game opens to a dark void. We're told that when we die, we will be brought back to this void and that we won't be remembered. However, if we are to be remembered, what is the name we'd like etched into our headstone? And it's here where we can actually choose a name for our character. Afterwards, we're booted into the menu where we can begin the game. As the game begins, we're given a pretty eerie opening cinematic, something pretty uncommon with Five Nights at Freddy's games. It serves to show how we found the job online on a listing site to work as a security guard for 5 days in an abandoned pizzeria. Fantastic! I know myself personally would never accept a job that I know for a fact won't even last a week, but hey, different strokes for different folks, I suppose. With that, we're thrown into the first night where I can talk about hands down one of my favorite parts about this game. Loading into the office, we're hit with something crazy. This game looks real. The office looks like an actual office, with objects placed around that actually look like they should be there, not just a random assortment of items like we typically see in FNAF games. And the sound design is amazing.
This game looks real, it sounds real, and I think that's one of the big reasons why people love this game so much. It tries to feel real. Watch for when he's closest, he can be tricked easily. What the fuck does that mean, bro? Holy shit. Oh my god. What the fuck? This looks sick. Of course, like most FNAF games tend to do, we have a phone call on each night to listen to. Instead of the usual where the phone guy at least sounds somewhat like they know what they're doing, the phone guy in Reanimated sounds baked out of his fucking mind.
Speaking of which, the only reason we have a security guard job right now is because the place is being demolished soon. So we don't want any funny business going on at night.
He tells us the basics of our camera. Who cares? That's my job. What he does say that's actually of note is that the building we're in has been abandoned for over a decade. And the only reason we're watching over it now is because the building is about to be demolished. And for some reason, they're concerned about funny business going on because of that. I have no idea what funny business is supposed to mean. My first guess was people breaking in to steal something, but then I thought, well, that doesn't make sense. People could have been stealing from this place for the last 10 plus years. Why would they all of a sudden decide they needed to do this now? Maybe it means graffiti, but the place is being demolished, so who cares? This is such a weird thing to latch onto, but I just feel like it's strange to mention this now. And it does actually bring up a good question. Why would you hire someone to guard a building that won't exist in 5 days? But you never hired a guard for the past 10 years that it was abandoned. It almost makes you wonder if they were expecting something to happen. And maybe that's why they're demolishing it. Before I get into any of the characters, let's talk about the controls of this game and the 3 tools at our disposal. You can only look in 2 directions in this game, at your computer and at your door and window. Something super interesting about this door is that it is actually just a door, which is pretty scary in a game like this where your doors are mainly known as your only means of defense. You can pull the blinds of your window down if you want to, and when I first found that out, I was reasonably concerned as to why. I see this right here, and I know this game's about to be fucked. I know this game is about to be so fucked, dude. It's just a normal fucking door. Bro, these motherfuckers gonna open the shit out of that thing. And we'll get into why in just a minute. But first, I really want to talk about the cameras and why they serve to be one of the most difficult things to deal with in this entire game. Upon looking at the cameras, you'll realize there's no typical camera map and buttons. Instead, there's just arrows at the bottom of the cameras that you can click to move from one camera to the next, fairly slowly. This is brilliant in 2 ways. With the realism approach that this game is taking. Looking at the surroundings, we can tell that this game takes place a pretty long time ago in 2013. We can tell this because of the confirm window at the beginning of the game being Windows 7 and the fact that the game tells us. But I just wanted to seem cool by pointing out that I knew what the Windows 7 UI was. Shut up. And yes, 2013 was a long time ago. I know for some of you it may not feel like it, but it was 12 years ago. That's older than some of my audience who, let's be honest, really shouldn't be watching my videos. Mom and dad, monitor your kids, fuckhead. Knowing this and knowing that the game is aiming to be realistic, opting to use a slow, outdated system like this is genius. Even if, yes, I think it's AIDS and very annoying. However, once we start talking about the way this game plays, I'll bring up why I think the way these cameras are set up is needed. Anyways, on to the reason why I think this is as annoying as it is. Mainly because it's not consistent in one way that I would expect it to be. There are 9 cameras in total to surf through. When you reach camera 9, if you press the forward arrow again, you will be sent back to camera 1. That makes sense. So, what do you think happens if you press the back arrow while on camera 1? If you said you go back to camera 9, you would be completely wrong because the back arrow doesn't even fucking exist on camera 1. Why is this the case? I have no idea. If it was consistent either way, this wouldn't bother me, but you can cycle in one direction and not the other. And yes, this is noticeable and it does matter. Now we can finally talk about the first threat this game throws at you. I'm sure you could have guessed who it is. That's right, it's Chica. I lied, it's Bonnie. Of course it's Bonnie. Surprisingly, each character in this game attacks you in a unique way. Even though we only have 3 tools, this game somehow manages to make each character vastly different from one another, and I think that's amazing. Bonnie's main goal is to sneak into your office. He will move around the cameras until he gets to your door. And when he gets to your door, be ready. Close that motherfucker! Oh my god. Dude, literally fuck that. Literally fuck that. The moment I saw this, I knew that this was getting a Dexter White video. And even the people in my comments over on my second channel, Dexter Black, knew that this game was getting a White video. I actually had another video lined up for this week, and I've chosen to postpone it so that I could talk about this game first, since I love it so much. It's moments like these that FNAF games need. Once Bonnie is at your window, all you have to do is hold down your blinds until you hear his big fat feet galloping away. Not an overtly difficult character to deal with, but really paves the way for what the rest of this game has to offer. Luckily for us, there's a post-night minigame section after each night that we get to talk about. But hold up, Dexter. Don't you usually hate post-night minigames? Yeah, typically I do. However, this game's post-night minigames don't make me want to shove a porcupine in my asshole backwards. There's no repetitive 8-bit minigames, and again, what we're doing in these minigames still feels realistic. After completing the night, we get another call from the phone guy. He asks us before we head home to go into the storage room and find an old computer, which we can use to upload some old pictures and footage of the building to the cloud. He says he wants to upload some of the interesting stuff to his personal blog, which I'm sure violates some sort of contract, but who am I to care? I break the law all the time. For example, if I was in the UK, I'd probably be arrested on the spot because of the language I choose to use. Anyways, something I think is cool is that we actually get to walk into the back room. We don't just miraculously get placed there. This will become important later, by the way. After walking into the storage room, we can access the computer and start uploading files to the cloud. You'll notice that you can turn to the exit of the room. For now, it's unknown why. After waiting for ages for the upload to finish, we walk out of the storage room and finish out our shift, moving on to night 2. On night 2, we get another call from the phone guy, where we find out that our player is actually trying to do something about the fact that the characters are moving. Apparently, we sent an email to the phone guy explaining that we saw Bonnie moving. We called him the creepy rabbit, which seemed to frustrate the phone guy a little bit, to the point he corrected us on his name.
Oh yeah, and that creepy rabbit you were talking about, he has a name. It's Bonnie.
Sure, this could have just been playful, but I get the funny feeling it's not. The threat introduced on this night is Chica, arguably the least threatening character in this entire game. Chica will randomly wander around your cameras, and she has the chance to charge at your door from 2 of those cameras. Except the difference with Chica approaching your door is that closing the blinds will not stop her. She can attack on cameras 2 and camera 4. You can tell when she's going to attack based on the position she's standing in. On camera 2, she'll be very close to the camera, and in camera 4, she'll be on the very left side of the camera. When she is in either of these 2 positions, you will need to use the flash button on your cameras to flash said camera and scare her away. You may be wondering why there's a flash on these cameras. That's not very realistic, and Dexter, you told me this whole game was realistic. And now hear me out. Usually I'd agree with you, but I want you to take that concern like a boomerang and launch it as far away from you as possible. Night 2's post-night minigame has us go back to the computer in the storage room to fiddle with the power system. Now this you can complain about because I have no idea what the hell that is supposed to mean. And actually doing the task doesn't really answer anything either. We are shown a series of sliders that we have to quite literally fiddle with. Apparently doing so will reset the power. How do you tell you've put the sliders in the correct spot? Well, you just have to do trial and error. Move one slider a single place, press reset, and if it turns red, change it again. This is very monotonous. If only there was something else on this night to cure my boredom. I don't want to look back. What did I tell you? It's moments like these that really make these FNAF games stand out. To any future FNAF devs, do cool shit. Your game does not have to be stupidly hard to be memorable. It just has to do cool things. And this is some of the coolest shit I've ever seen. While looking at the computer, Bonnie will slowly try to creep closer and closer to you. You will have to look back at him lest he shoot his Jeep juice all over your spine. You can actually watch him walk backwards while you look at him, almost like he knows you've noticed he's moved, and is attempting to readjust himself, so you go back to looking away. What the fuck? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my fucking god! Did you see that shit? Motherfucker just crip walked back, he moonwalked. It's honestly some of the creepiest shit I've ever seen come out of a FNAF game, and I love it. After completing this minigame and turning towards the door, you'll realize that Bonnie has gone away, obviously getting bored of you because you're boring. So all we have to do now is walk out of the building. You want me to walk out that motherfucking door? You honestly want me to walk out that fucking door? I mean, I'll do it, but fuck. Oh my fucking god! This game is fucking awesome, by the way. But now it's time to move on to night 3. On night 3, the phone guy says he got another email from us because we told him that Chica was now moving too. He said that in case anyone else starts moving, we should use the flash, because they're probably not used to bright lights. Again, I find this weird coming from him. And come to think of it, why would any of the animatronics from any FNAF game be sensitive to light? They're always on stage where bright lights are beaming on them almost constantly. So I just find it odd how much the phone guy seems to want us to do this. He ends off the call by stating he wanted to tell us a story, but he's out of time. Maybe we'll hear that story another day. For now, let me tell you the story of Sparky the dog. You remember, the hoax character that was said to be in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 way back in the day? Yeah, for some reason he's in this game. And he's the threat introduced on night 3. His mechanics are simple, but really start to show how annoying this camera system is going to become. Occasionally, Sparky will bark. When he does, he will be teleported to a random camera. You will have to find which camera he's on and flash him. Am I a huge fan of this mechanic? No, not at all. And I'm really not a fan when I have to meticulously scrape through each camera one by one. Overall, so far, it's not going to be all too bad. Keep your eyes on Chica, find Sparky every once in a while, and occasionally hold the blinds for Bonnie. Simple sugar, not so bad. But trust me, it'll get bad pretty damn fast. After completing the shift, we get another call from the phone guy. He tells us the cameras have been acting strange, and that we should use the computer in the storage room to reset them. He also curiously mentions that he has remote access to the camera system. So that brings up the question, why the fuck are we even here? If someone else is able to watch the cameras in the safety of their own home, where there aren't a bunch of murder robots trying to butt fuck them, who cares? Let's just finish our shift and head to the storage room.
I'll see you on the flip side.
I'll see you in the grave, asshole. So let me tell you a little something. Oh my fucking god! I love this game. I don't know if that was obvious or not. Entering the storage room is when we enter by far the most difficult minigame section in this entire game. I'm not kidding. We're tasked with literally just holding a button down on the PC. Once it charges all the way, we'll reset a camera and move on to the next one. However, when you let go, the bar will very quickly decrease. That may not sound so bad. It would only be bad if we had a certain purple distraction trying to blow our backs out now, wouldn't it? What the fuck? What? Bro, he's fast as shit. Bonnie is the sole reason why this minigame is so AIDS. Bonnie, for some reason, thought that today was the day he was going to take the Rock Lee ankle weights off and show us his true speed. Bonnie is so astronomically fast during this minigame, it's not even funny. 3, 2, 3. Oh my motherfucking god. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. Can I break his knees? You have maybe 2 seconds of time to look at the screen before he kills you, so you have to be fast.
And what adds to the difficulty of this night, the hitbox of the progress bar you have to click and hold. Swiping your mouse back and forth to check on Bonnie, then moving back to the computer is insanity. And when you come back, you have to hold the position of your mouse on this tiny little progress bar and continue to hold. But you can only hold for maybe 1 second before you have to turn back around to Bonnie and wait for him to walk all the way back to the door. And keep in mind, the progress bar is decreasing every time you look away, so you're really just fucked. And once you complete a camera is when you notice you have to fix 3 more. And if you ever die to Bonnie, go back into them all over again. Fuck you. This minigame took me around 30 minutes to finally complete. It's unironically the second hardest canonical challenge in this game, and I would love to have to never do it again. Oh, but one more interesting detail about this minigame. The final camera you fix briefly shows Foxy in the camera. Oh boy, I hope that's not foreshadowing or something. After completing that hell, we don't have to almost get touched by any robots on our way out and are free to move on to night 4. The phone guy calls us and fucking rambles about some bullshit I don't care about. He says that there was an ancient civilization that archaeologists found, and those researchers were later haunted by handprints of the ancient civilization. Again, I really don't give a fuck. This is purely symbolic for the story of the game, which I'll talk about later. But this was the story he was itching to tell us. I would rather itch my balls than hear him talk about that again. The threat introduced on this night is Foxy. Spoiler alert, the camera was foreshadowing something. Foxy acts exactly how you think Foxy would act. You have to look at him to stall him, and if you don't, he'll run to your office. But as I'm sure you could have guessed, he too doesn't care about your door. Watching him will push him back, so you know, just make sure you're doing that. Something of note is how Foxy breaks the cycle you've been really trying to build up throughout the game, forcing you to develop a new one. Up until this point, watching Chica has probably been your main focus, but now with a character that demands even more attention, I'm sure you can figure out why Foxy will put a big wrench into your plans. Now you have to find a way to constantly watch Foxy and Chica, and lucky us, Foxy is on camera 6, several cameras away from Chica's attack cameras. This game knows what it's doing. Sure, it's frustrating, but it's also genius. In this post-night minigame, we're told we have to fix a ventilation problem. Phone guy tells us it's just turning a few knobs. The ventilation room is in a door right off of the storage room, so the storage room is where we go.
I don't see anyone yet. Hi, Bonnie. Were you expecting me to go there? Were you expecting to cut me off? Sorry, asshole. Not gonna happen.
Is that not horrifying? Bonnie is standing right next to the computer we've been going to every night. He's starting to remember our patterns, getting to the computer before we can in hopes that he could jump us. But lucky for us, the computer is not where we need to go this time. Entering into the ventilation room, we have 6 knobs in front of us and 2 large vents to our left and right. Pretty reminiscent of the office from Pizzeria Simulator. I wonder if anything is going to come through those vents to try and kill us. Silly little viewer. Of course there is. This minigame's threat is Foxy. Throughout the minigame, Foxy will make quiet sound cues in whichever vent he's about to attack from. When you hear him, all you have to do is turn to stare at him until he goes away. Meanwhile, you have to painfully slowly turn these 6 knobs, which will take a very long time. Because as you get closer to having them all finish, it seems that Foxy will attack you more and more frequently. After completing this task, we can leave with no other funny business taking place. Finally, we're left with one last night. One last thing standing in our way, and this game holds no punches in introducing it. Before you is something long forgotten. Something that was once loved and cherished, but now it lies broken. It is left abandoned. You know what becomes of something long forgotten. It dies a second death. It grows cold. It is unmoving. But what if some things don't wish to be forgotten? Do you know what happens when something refuses to be forgotten? It becomes angry. Anger is eternal. Anger grows, it festers, it burns, it writhes, and then it finally happens.
it is given new life. It returns to us. It haunts us. However, it doesn't return as it once was. It returns as something else, something unrecognizable. Through its anger, it is reanimated. And with that, we're given one final message. The flash slows him down. Godspeed. When I first read that message, it gave me chills for some reason. It's like just by reading that, I knew what I was about to experience. Absolute agony. We get another call from the phone guy. He explains his reasoning for why he thinks the robots are alive. He thinks they're angry that they've been forgotten about and left abandoned for years, and he couldn't be more right. Night 5 introduces Freddy. Holy fucking shit, Freddy. Freddy is by far the most dangerous character in this entire game. When Freddy moves forward, he will never move backwards. And once he gets to your office, it's over for you. Yo, get the fuck away from that fucking door! You get the fuck away from that door! What? Oh, fuck, dude. Freddy is a dick. Raps. How do you stall Freddy? By using the flash, of course. When you flash Freddy, he will cover his eyes. Something interesting to note is that Freddy is the only character to be animated on the cameras. Such a small detail, but a detail I think is really cool. If you really want to make sure Freddy doesn't move, you'll have to time his intervals since they don't vary. And make sure you're onto his camera and flash him at quite literally every single opportunity. You don't have much time to waste as Freddy is fast. Really fucking fast. I don't quite have the vocabulary necessary to describe how intense this night really is. And if you get bad Sparky spawns like I often did, you could easily spend hours on this night. I was lucky enough to only have it take me a single hour. But if you manage to control your nerves long enough to complete this night, we will have one final minigame to talk about. After completion, we get one final call from the phone guy. He very ominously tells us to enter the dining room. He says he wants to show us something. Upon entering the dining room, we're greeted by all 5 animatronics staring back at us. The camera to the dining room flashes, and we hear the phone guy, named Ralph, explain that the reason it flashes is so that you can take a screenshot of the camera. Ow! Oh! Oh! Fuck! See? That's why I told you to make it a boomerang. Ralph then used that image to post on his blog. He's been using these camera images for his blog all week, and we were the bait. One last goodbye is said, and the restaurant goes quiet. The gameplay of Freddy's Reanimated is incredible. There's no doubting that. This game, of course, has a custom night with 3 additional unlockable characters. The first of which being Bon Bon, who's actually a reference to the game Freddy's Web Adventure. Pretty cool. Occasionally, he will appear on your cameras. If you don't click him fast enough, he will disable all of them for the remainder of the night. The next character you can unlock is called the Hawk. He acts as a Phantom Chica-like character. He will periodically appear on the cameras, blocking the view, and if you don't turn away from him, he will kill you. Pretty simple, but in a game where the cameras are super important, this guy can be a big pain in the ass. Finally, the last character you can unlock is Sienna, by far the most cancerous of the Custom Night 3. She will occasionally block the clock next to your door, which somehow prevents time from passing. This is a Custom Night character that can drop the realism at this point. All you have to do is click her nose and she will go away and the time will continue to pass. Altogether, completing a Custom Night with these 3 additional characters is a torture I would never want to put myself through. But shout out to Dark Ryun who was able to pull it off, and whose footage you're seeing right now. I should mention that the Custom Night does have a secret ending, but I'll bring it up when I talk about the story of this game. Which, you know, we'll do right now. The story of Freddy's Reanimated is honestly one of the most surprisingly thoughtful pieces of writing I've ever seen in a FNAF fan game. It's not about murder, or purple men, or endless timelines that make my brain feel like fucking mashed potatoes. It's about being forgotten, and about what happens when something that used to bring people joy is left to rot and fade away. The entire game is built on this theme: nostalgia, decay, and the quiet horror of being erased from memory.
Freddy's Reanimated takes place inside Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, a restaurant that's already dead by the time we get there. It used to be loved. Kids laughed, parents smiled, the animatronics performed, and everything was fine. Until it wasn't. Over time, the crowd stopped coming. The lights dimmed, the laughter stopped. The building was abandoned and left to gather dust for over a decade. No massacres, no missing children, just nothing. The kind of death most things really suffer. When the game starts, we're told the place is finally being demolished, and Ralph, the manager, hires a night guard to keep an eye on the place for the last few days. That's us. But before us, there was another guard, Mike Schmidt. Yeah, that Mike Schmidt. He worked one night, just one, and didn't make it out. In the demo of this game, we actually see what happened. Mike survives until 6 a.m. The power cuts, and Freddy himself storms into the office and literally bites his head off. No mystery, no cover-up. It's brutal, it's direct, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. When Ralph brings us in months later, he acts like none of that ever happened. He's casual, a little too calm, and gives us these half-baked instructions that sound like he's either high out of his mind or hiding something. He keeps asking us to do these little tasks: fix the power, upload old files, check the cameras, all while brushing off the fact that the animatronics are moving. Every night, our character emails Ralph describing what they saw, and every night Ralph dances around the truth. He never says, "You're wrong," but he never says, "You're right" either. It's like he knows what's going on, but refuses to say it out loud. Then, finally, on the last night, Ralph tells us a story. The story he's been dying to share. He says that back in the 1940s, archaeologists discovered a cave covered in human handprints. The people who found it were haunted by those same handprints for the rest of their lives. Like the dead were reaching out just to remind them they were still there. And Ralph thinks the same thing is happening to Freddy's. He believes the animatronics are moving because they refuse to be forgotten. That after sitting abandoned for over a decade, their anger, this pure, desperate rage, literally reanimated them. Not out of vengeance, not because of possession, but because of memory. Because they were once loved and then left behind. It's such a fascinating take. The idea that these animatronics aren't evil, they're afraid. Afraid of fading away. It's one of the first FNAF fan games I've seen that makes you feel sorry for the monsters chasing you. They're not killing you because they want to, they're killing you because they don't want to disappear. After you survive the final night, Ralph asks you to head into the dining room. He says he wants to show you something. When you enter, all 5 animatronics are standing there, waiting for you. It's one of the eeriest visuals in the entire game. Completely still, completely silent. Ralph activates the camera flash, and the screen freezes in a burst of light. Then he says,
I finally figured out what the flash button does. It lights up the room so that you can take a screenshot of the camera you're looking at. I finally have more recent images for my blog.
And that's when it hits you. The whole time, we weren't protecting the building, we were the bait. Ralph was using us to get the footage and screenshots he wanted for his personal blog, to turn the remains of this haunted restaurant into online content, the same way we, as players, chase nostalgia. Ralph chases it too. He's obsessed with documenting something that's supposed to be gone. After everything, the building is demolished. Ralph's posts about it online, sparking renewed interest in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. People remember it again. The animatronics, those same restless spirits that didn't want to be forgotten, finally get what they wanted. They are remembered. And then they rest. The player gets their paycheck. The story ends not with a scream, but with silence. It's such a powerful way to close things out. Freddy's Reanimated isn't about surviving animatronics. It's about the fear of being erased. It's about what happens when the world moves on and leaves you behind. Even the custom night ending reflects that idea. Mike Schmidt's death is written off as a bear attack. Just a tiny headline, nothing more. And Freddy Fazbear himself, lying in the rubble, surrounded by everything that used to be alive, now just forgotten scraps of metal. For a game that's meant to be realistic, it's ironic that the story is one of the most human I've ever seen in this genre. Freddy's Reanimated isn't just the most realistic FNAF game ever made, it's one of the most real stories the community has ever told. Would you like to hear one last interesting piece of information I have to share? There is a secret in this game up until this point. As far as I'm aware, nobody has ever found it, and I can guarantee you've never seen it before. A secret so rare that the chances of finding it exceed luck that no human has ever had. And I want to thank City, the author of the FNAF fan game wiki, for providing me with this information and allowing me to share it with you guys. We know that Michael got bitten and killed by Freddy, but did you know you can actually see Michael's corpse inside of the game? You just have to be incredibly lucky. To start, you must have already beaten the main game. No custom night completion is necessary. Then you have to restart the game from night 1. Before completing night 3, you will have to die at least 5 times. Then, upon beating night 3, when entering the hallway, there's a 1 in 10,000 chance to see the corpse. Slight gore warning, by the way. This is probably the most realistic looking gore I've ever seen in a FNAF game. If you can pull all of that off and get more lucky than any human on Earth, this is what you will see in the hallway. Truly some of the scariest shit I've ever seen. But there you have it. That's everything as far as I'm aware that Freddy's Reanimated has to offer. Overall, this game is one of the coolest experiences I've ever had since starting this channel. I don't think this game is nearly my favorite. I think I like Juniors and Banshee just a little bit more, but it's definitely close. The atmosphere, the sound design, the game design are all borderline perfect works of art. Banshee was easily one of, if not the scariest Five Nights at Freddy's game I had ever played. Amazing atmosphere, wonderful sound design, and even pretty damn good game mechanics to go along with it. I've of course covered it on this channel before, and if you haven't already, you should go give that video a watch after this one. The game we'll be covering today reminds me of Banshee in a lot of ways, easily being another one of the most horrifying FNAF experiences I've ever had. However, with all of the good does come some bad. And while I feel there's nothing super bad about the game we're covering today, I do feel like there are a few things that we need to talk about with some very good tips for future game devs. The game we'll be covering today is Midnight at Star Stage, one of the newest FNAF fan games on the market with a lot of hype behind it. Today, we'll be diving into the game, talking about its story, gameplay mechanics, pros, and cons. So strap in with me as we peek behind the curtains of Midnight at Star Stage. Jumping right into night 1, wasting no time, there's something super obvious I want to get out of the way immediately. This game looks and feels exactly like the FNAF fan game Banshee, like I've already mentioned, and I can't lie, I love it. Absolutely, it's amazing. Banshee's atmosphere was one of the best out of any FNAF fan game I've ever played, and I feel like this game really lives up to that exact feeling. This game is horrifying. To our left and right, we have doors. However, both doors are completely different. The door on our left can only be used for as long as we're holding the switch. However, the door on the right is toggleable, which I actually don't think I've ever seen another FNAF game do. Sure, the original FNAF technically has toggleable doors, but they can't be toggled forever due to the fact that you have power. But there's no power in this game, so I just thought that this was interesting. Of course, we have our cameras, however, there is no camera map. Instead, we have to cycle through the cameras using W and S, which I thought was a little bit weird for controls, but that's not super important at all. This night introduces 2 threats, so let's talk about them and how terrifying they are. Let's start with the main character, Rocky, one of the most aggressive characters in the entire game. His goal is to get to your office, no shit, but his way of doing so is incredibly intense. Just like Foxy, he will sprint Mach 104 directly at your office, and the scariest part,
he can attack either side. The way you'll be able to tell which side he's going to attack is based on which cameras he goes through. If he goes to camera 3, that likely means he will attack your left door. If he goes to camera 6, that likely means he will attack your right. Oh fuck! Now, when it gets to your door, all you have to do is close it. However, like I said, he is incredibly fast. And when he runs to your door, well, yes, he does make a noticeable sound cue. Just take a look at this clip and see how fast he really is. I don't know, dude, there's no fucking sound cue. What? Yeah, he is very fast. And this game is about to be both really fucking hard and really fucking scary at the same time. Strap in, guys, it's about to get crazy. Anyways, moving on to the next threat we have to talk about, that being Rash the Cat. Rash the Cat really goes to show how difficult this game is going to be, and that mainly comes in the form of how much synergy he has with Rocky. Just like Rocky, Rash too can attack both of your doors. However, he is completely silent. Very reminiscent of Springtrap from Banshee, he will creep up silently to either of your doors and stare at you. All you have to do to make him go away is stare back. Oh my fuck! It's a costume! Why is it moving? We're about to be in for an absolutely wild ride, guys. These characters are terrifying, some of the scariest I've ever seen, right up there alongside Banshee. I think it's pretty clear this game drew a lot of inspiration from Banshee, and I think that's great. They nailed the atmosphere, they nailed the character designs, and they even nailed the pressure that Banshee brought, and we're only in night 1. The synergy Rash has with Rocky is mainly with your right door. Since it's toggleable, the thing you'd want to do is keep it closed, since the reaction time you need for Rocky is scary fast. However, since Rash is so quiet and makes no sound cues, it leads to you needing to keep that door open so you can constantly check for him. It's a small detail, but definitely one worth talking about. This game doesn't have a task-based completion system like Banshee, instead having the usual time-based one, which I want to be clear I don't think is an issue. Sure, I love it when games try something new, but there's nothing wrong with sticking to the usual. I'm super excited to see what the rest of this game has to offer, so without further ado, let's move on to night 2. Psych! I lied. First, we have to talk about night 1's post-night minigame, and why I don't give a fuck about it. In it, we have to collect a bunch of bullshit scattered around the building. Boring! I'd rather jump into a glitching wall and get teleported next to a ninja by a campfire. Thank you very much. After teleporting, we touch the fire, and the minigame abruptly ends. Now we can move on to night 2. Night 2 really goes to show how this game is eventually going to have to be played out, as it adds one of the most annoying threats in this entire game. That being Bowie. Bowie acts as this game's eye slut. That's right, I'm coining a new FNAF term, and I expect it to be used very frequently by everyone in the fandom from now on. Eye slut refers to a character archetype that revolves around said character needing to be stared at, and that's the only fucking mechanic. And this game's eye slut is Bowie. Bowie will randomly move around cameras 3, 6, and 9. Some would even say, damn, she fine. If you ever don't glance at Bowie for long enough, he'll appear at your door where no matter what you do, even if you close it, he'll still close the gap between his willy and your butt and start clapping your shit like a crowd after a good performance wanting an encore. The real issue with Bowie isn't even Bowie himself. It's more so due to the fact that it makes Rocky so much scarier. Whereas before, all you really needed to do was watch him so you could tell which side he was going to attack, while Bowie is active, you should be staring at him the entire time. So this leads to you needing to be able to react to Rocky every single time. So if your reflexes are shit, you will be shit at this night and the entire game as a whole. But overall, this night isn't too bad. Now we can move on to the post-night 2 minigame, which is much the same as the first. This time around, we actually play as a different night guard, which is interesting. And this time we're tasked with taking some animatronics to the stage. Boring! I'd rather jump into a glitching wall and get teleported next to a ninja by a campfire. Thank you very much. After teleporting, we touch the fire and the minigame abruptly ends. And now we can move on to night 3. Actually, I lied a bit. I just thought it'd be kind of funny to repeat the ending of the last section since you do the same thing. What I want to talk about is that for some reason during this minigame, the monkey we first see is in the 2D style like everything else. But if you do some exploring, you'll find the other characters, except they'll be in the normal 3D rendered states, which is honestly just super uncanny and creepy. It's cool, it's random, it's unimportant, but I wanted to mention it. Are you guys ready for night 3? I really don't think you are. Like, really ask yourself the question, am I ready to learn about the third night of this game? Dexter's asking me to think about it, so that clearly means I'm about to learn about the most soul-degrading thing of all time. Did you ask yourself the question? Great, let's move on to night 3. Night 3 introduces a certain type of mechanic, a very common mechanic in FNAF games. Almost every single FNAF game has at least one of these, actually. And fun fact, this very mechanic was what spawned the most recent Dexter White song, Nintendo No. Go listen to it. It's on all streaming services, by the way. Is that enough of a hint as to what type of mechanic is slid into my butthole on this night? Well, if it's not, let me help you a bit. This night introduces a fucking monkey. I don't even want to do it the due diligence of saying its stupid fucking name. It's a piece of shit. In fact, it's the same monkey we put on stage in the last minigame. Monkey Dick has his own stage, and thankfully, he's nothing like Bowie, who requires me to stare at him all night. However, he does something arguably worse. Occasionally, at random, throughout the night, he will slam his cymbals together. And now, I want you to take a solid guess as to what it is we have to do after hearing these cymbals. Really think about it. What could this so far amazing game do to just really shoot itself in the foot like a soldier trying to get an honorable discharge? I think I've given you enough time to think about it. After Monkey Fuck smashes his cymbals together, he will teleport to a random fucking camera. God damn it, fuck me right in my rear. This night also introduces the ability to flash your cameras. So all you have to do is find the rape ass monkey and flash him to make him go back to his stage. I quite literally have no idea what makes these games unable to come up with something unique. Don't get me wrong, I think this game is fucking amazing, and this find them on the camera mechanic is nowhere near as terribly integrated as some of the other FNAF games I've played, but please, guys, stop doing this. My poor little heart just can't take it anymore. But aside from that, that's all this night adds. Now we can move on to the post-night minigame. In it, we're driving a car right after a beer. We can choose to hit some deer on the road, but the game would really prefer we didn't. Fuck the actual point of the minigame. We all know that there will be a glitch somewhere. And sure enough, at a certain distance, you will see a glitch. Bam down and you'll be teleported to the fire with the ninja. Touch the fire and the minigame comes to a close. I have no idea what this fire could be symbolizing. And yes, by the way, I know that this is most likely not a ninja, but I'm noticing while writing this that in my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dexter Black, I actually never found the glitch in the first minigame. So now I'm dreading having to replay the whole game later. But that's future me's problem. And I don't give two fucks about future me. For now, let's move on to night 4. Damn. We're already on to night 4, huh? Shit, we're just busting through this game all willy-nilly style. Well, there's a new thread introduced on this night, and it's honestly, like, not even a problem at all. Something I'm noticing about this game is that while, yes, it's very scary, and that's awesome, the game is also, like, piss easy, which, don't get me wrong, I don't want it to be the hardest thing on earth, but it's like, you know, a little bit too easy. Anyways, moving on to the thread this night introduces Floppy. Yes, I'm serious. Get it out of your system. I know it's a completely ridiculous name, but that's his name, and we love him just the way he is. And the way he is basically just a fucking statue. Floppy sits directly outside of your right door, and his mechanic is cool at a glance. Floppy is a weeping angel and will only move when your door is closed and you can't see him. So he directly synergizes with both Rocky and Rash. However, if you've seen my playthrough over on my second channel, Dexter Black, then you'd know that the need to have this door closed at all times isn't really present, as you need the door open at all times to see if Rash is there. So keeping it closed at all times is actually just a pretty bad idea. And it's not even like Floppy moves at an insanely fast rate. because he really doesn't. So for most of the game, it'll be like he's just a fucking decoration. It looks scary and that's cool, but generally speaking, he doesn't really add anything to the gameplay loop, which I do think is very disappointing. I've thought for a bit on how you can make him more interesting without changing his mechanic at all, and I think I have two decent ideas. The first being the one I would personally go with. Really make him a weeping angel and force you to look at him, not just have the door open. This would make him much more threatening, albeit the most annoying thing on earth. The only other way you could make Floppy more threatening is somehow designing a way to make closing his door more needed. Because quite literally, the only time you ever need to close the door is the 2 seconds it takes to make Rocky go away. And that's even if he attacks that side in the first place, which of course isn't always guaranteed. But realistically, the best way to solve this problem is to not even have the problem in the first place and just make Floppy do something else. There's plenty of mechanic ideas that devs could take from the other brilliant fan games that exist. Here's a quick tip for FNAF devs. If a character you add doesn't feel like a new threat you have to actively think about, either don't add that character or find a new mechanic for them. Anyways, after completing the night, we of course get a post-night minigame. In it, we play as a sad fat kid. I actually can't confirm if this kid is sad, but I know that if I was fat, I would probably be sad, so I'm just assuming this kid is the same way. In this minigame, all we have to do is walk from one side of town to the other while avoiding cars on the road that are, for some reason, not stopping for the literal roadblock of a child directly in front of them. At 2 points during this minigame, you can see what appear to be a pair of eyes watching us, but I have no idea what this is actually supposed to mean, and I also don't know what the story of this game could be literally at all. Now, for the glitch, which this time around is completely unobvious. If you get all the way to the end of the map, what you're supposed to do is just touch the edge and you'll be booted to the menu. This is what I did on my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dexter Black. There's blood leaking out of me, knowing that I'll have to go back and fix this, but whatever. If instead of touching the edge, you instead go all the fucking way back, really getting Tubby his exercise, and touch the edge next to where you started, which by the way shows no indication of being glitched, so this is just bullshit, then you will be teleported to the fire with the ninja, touch the fire, and we can move on to night 5. Night 5 introduces one new threat, and I'm honestly surprised that it does. Very uncommonly do I find FNAF games that consistently add a new threat with every night, and I honestly really appreciate this game for doing so. Albeit, both this threat and last night's threat are pretty lackluster. But before we talk about the threat this night introduces, we need to talk about this night's phone call. Because even though it's by far the shortest one, it easily is the most interesting we've heard so far. The phone guy just tells us that tonight will be our last shift, because the floppy suit almost killed the employee who was inside of it. So that's just based in Riz, I can't even lie. Anyways, on to talking about the threat that this night introduces. That being the fucking mouse that the game didn't tell me the name of, so that's just awesome. Mickey Mouse fuck-ass boy adds a mechanic that honestly might as well not even exist. I struggle to figure out whether I think the mouse's mechanic or Floppy's mechanic is more worthless to the gameplay loop. Dicky Mouse will randomly appear on whichever camera you're looking at. When he does, you won't be able to switch between cameras. To make him go away, all you have to do is flash the camera. So just press space and he goes away. That's literally it. He can only appear on the camera you're looking at, so it's not like you're ever going to miss him either. And he's also very forgiving with the amount of time you have to flash him. So really, if you die to this guy, you're just retarded or dead at your keyboard. I really wish I had more to talk about with these mechanics. Sure, I could sit here and complain and bitch and whine and say the mechanics make me want to do something to my penis that will damage it beyond recognition. But I mean, really, just look at the gameplay between night 3 and 5. Tell me if you see much of a difference. Spoiler alert, you won't. In fact, let's actually play a game real quick. Right here, I'm showing you 2 clips from my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dexter Black. One of them is footage from night 3, and the other is footage of night 5. I want you to take a guess at which video is which. I'll give you a bit. Did you make your guess? Well, fuck you, because both of these clips are night 5. That's how similar they are. So while yes, it's cool that this game is adding more animatronics, I just really wish they'd do something that mattered to the gameplay loop, but they just don't. Anyways, after completing night 5, we don't get a minigame in the same way we usually do. Instead, we get a cutscene. A child is talking to his father. At some point, the child leaves and the father spots one of the mascots and goes to talk to it. Upon interacting with the fucking mouse, we get jump scared and he asks the dad if he needs anything, and the dad says no. So like, why the fuck did you even go up and talk to him in the first place? Either way, with that, night 5 comes to an end. Night 6 is not what I expected at all. Discover it for yourself. Now you see, I don't like that you're saying it like that. What do you mean discover it for myself? Easily being the most interesting night throughout the game, albeit still incredibly easy. Night 6 is a boss fight night with this fucking thing. What the fuck is that? Whoa! What the fuck? The fuck was that? Tell me that wasn't the coolest and most terrifying thing you've ever seen in your life. So yeah, this is the final boss of the game. Do I have a reason as to why it looks like this or what lore significance it has? Literally fucking no. Not at all. But who cares, because he looks fucking sick. The way he works is incredibly easy. He can attack both doors. He works pretty much entirely off sound cues. He will be moaning throughout the entire night, which I will add is very gross, but I guess that's just what he's into, so I'm not gonna kink shame the poor guy. Whenever he moans, that tells you that he's moved. If you ever see him at your left door, all you have to do is hold the door closed. He will begin banging on it, so just make sure you hold it closed until he stops. If it wasn't obvious, all of the other characters aren't activated on this night, so you don't really have to worry. Now, when he attacks your right door, you'll have to do something just a little bit different. You still have to close the door, but for some reason, he really doesn't like it when your computer is on while he's on the right side. Very weird, but we'll listen. So when you see him on the right side, all we have to do is close the door and then turn our computer off and he'll go away. Now, we have to talk about how you actually beat this night, since it's not just as easy as holding off until 6 a.m. like the rest of the nights have been. This is a boss fight night, and this time you're actually fighting a boss. When he moans, it's much more likely for him to just switch cameras than it is for him to appear at your door. He is a find them on the camera character. However, he's the only character in the night, so it's not a big deal. You will have to constantly track him on the cameras and spam your camera flash on him to deal damage. Flashing makes your system crash, so get ready to deal with rebooting your cameras constantly. Deal enough damage on the cameras, and this final night will come to a close. However, depending on if you were able to collect all of the fires next to the ninjas in the minigame will determine which ending you get after completing this night. After winning, the creature will force his way into your office like Graveyard Shift at Freddy's and kill you, wherein you get the bad ending. But who cares about the bad ending? The interesting ending comes in the form of collecting all of the fires from the minigames. Now, I'm not kidding about this. I promise. After you beat the night, the creature still kills you. However, the fire slowly rises from the bottom of the screen, and you're spit into a fucking Undertale boss fight with the creature. What the fuck am I playing right now? I'm dead serious. This is not edited. This actually happens in the game. You have to dodge a plethora of attacks, and every once in a while, you'll get the chance to attack. Attack 4 times and it'll fucking die, rewarding us with the good ending, which, by the way, is no different from the bad ending. There's no extra story revealed or a cutscene. It's just a boss fight and then an end screen. There's only one other thing I wanted to talk about, and that's a weird minigame you can find hidden in the extras menu. In it, you play as this weird white statue thing. The only thing you can do is find a newspaper clipping on the floor talking about some missing children. That's literally it. I have no idea why this is here. I have no idea what missing children had to do with this game. I failed to pick up on pretty much any lore this game has thrown out, if there was any at all. But for all of you little theorists, have fun with that information. But with that, that's all Midnight at Star Stage has to offer. Overall, I think this game was terrifying. However, I feel like this game was heavily inspired by Banshee, and it was. It almost feels like the dev wanted to make Banshee, but didn't actually fully think about the mechanics of how the game would work. Don't get me wrong, this game looks amazing and it plays well, but the synergies with characters really just aren't there. And I have no idea what the fuck the Undertale boss fight was about, but it was pretty cool. Stories in Five Nights at Freddy's games. Typically one of the most talked about parts of these games we love so much. However, I do need to bring up a question. When's the last time you've heard a FNAF story that you actually found interesting? After all, most of the stories in the genre are just retellings of the original story, and I think we can all agree it's starting to get old. Of course, every once in a while we get a masterpiece like Graveyard Shift at Freddy's or Chica's Party World Rebaked, but when's the last time you can really say you heard something completely new? Well, the game we'll be talking about today, in my opinion, has one of the best stories of all time. Split into 2 games, it goes on to tell one of the most unique stories FNAF has ever told. And the time between releases was almost an entire decade, with the second game only coming out earlier this year. The game we'll be talking about today is called The Last Sigh, the FNAF game with the most depraved story. The Last Sigh begins with a cutscene which takes place in an 8-bit minigame side-scroller. Usually these minigames are top-down, so this was pretty interesting. The art was actually pretty nice as well, and before we really dive into this game, I should make it clear that originally I'm pretty sure this game was in Spanish, as it has just been dubbed into English. So in some places there will probably be some spelling errors in translation. The opening cutscene gives us our main character, whose name is Valentina, which is 100% the name of a porn star. Actually, I just checked, and while it's not the first name of a porn star, it is the last name of one. In this cutscene, we learn that our grandma, whose name is Omegna, which is insane by the way, has given us a job as a security guard at her antique shop. Why does a family-owned shop need an overnight guard? That I have no idea. Either way, our mother isn't happy with us because she wants us to have a different job. Why? I don't know. A job is a job. Why are you pissed off? Vernon, the name of this guy, no idea what relation he has to Valentina, but whatever. He says that our mom is impatiently waiting for us and our grandma wants us to sign the contract to work for her quickly since the shop has been suffering. And first of all, why would I sign a contract to work for my grandmother? That just seems a bit weird. And second of all, if the business is struggling, why are you hiring another employee? That doesn't even make sense. Eventually, we do sign the contract and voila, get the reasoning for this entire game even existing. We even get a cute little note from our grandma telling us good luck, which is usually just seen as a kind gesture, but in this specific situation, I'm going to take it as a sort of threat. After that, we get our first phone call, and this is where I noticed that this game does phone calls exactly how Project Readjusted 1 did phone calls. That being having the phone call take place before the actual night. While that may be nice to help us just sit and listen, something you'll notice about these calls is that they are literally long as fuck. And to really let you know how long they're going to be, I'm just gonna play out the first call in its entirety, since it also does a really good job of setting the scene for this game.
Hello? Cristobal?
Hello? Valentina? Is that you?
Yeah, it's me. What's up? Why did you call me at this hour?
Well, your parents asked me to call you in order to be sure that you and Camilo have arrived at Granny's shop and that it's alright. It could be done by their own, but, you know, they're a bit busy with their business trip and all that.
Yeah, I know. By the way, it's not necessary for you to call me and worry about me. I'm fully grown up. I can take care of myself.
If you say so. By the way, it's probably that they're more worried of Camilo than any other thing. By the way, how is he?
He's alright. He's sitting in the corner of the room playing with his tablet. He wanted to explore the place, but I'm scared of letting him go around alone. When I officially start my shift, I'll send him to sleep in the back room. It's full of boxes and those things, but I adjusted it to make it more comfortable. To be honest, I feel it was dumb of my parents to have him come with me. Also, this place is a bit spooky during the night.
Spooky?
Yeah, it looks like the perfect place to make a horror movie with those overused jump scares and those cheap resources.
Come on. Don't be shy. I don't believe that ghosts and those things really exist.
I don't know if I believe that, but I feel as though one of those armors at the entrance will become alive and start moving around.
Oh, I think you have seen a lot of television, cousin. From now on, only focus on watching who enters to rob the things of the shop. Then, if you like, you can worry if the doll of your room is cursed or not.
So funny. Alright, what else did my parents say?
Well, they also asked me to try and convince you to quit that job. But I know you aren't going to do it, even if I asked you to do it. You're so obstinate.
It isn't only obscenity. I need the money. I've been more than a month without work. Also, Grandma needs my help.
I know, don't worry. I'm not going to ask you to quit, but just take care of yourself. If anything bad happens, call me, okay?
Okay, I'll have it in mind. Although I'm economically bad, I still can't pay for the phone bill.
I see. It's fine. I'll call you tomorrow then. Now, I gotta leave, because I have a early shift in the police department.
Alright. Anyway, I have to rest too. Talk to you tomorrow. Rest well.
You too. Take care. Good night.
So, that was long as fuck, huh? The reason I showed you that call is because it explains a lot of backstory about our character that I didn't want to have to talk about myself because I don't really like the lore of these games, I can't lie. But here we go. We're watching for thieves and apparently the place is haunted. Who gives a shit? Let's just get into the actual gameplay. But hold up, guys. I gotta interrupt again to tell you all that we officially are partnering with Makeship again to bring you an all-new Romeo Skaggs plushie, baby! You guys absolutely loved the first Skaggs plush that we released a few months ago, and I've been getting messages from you guys showing me that the new plushies have finally arrived. And since our last campaign did so well, Makeship wanted to work with me again. No petition this time. Just go to the link in my description to pick up your very own Romeo Skaggs. He'll be there for you when the Huzz aren't, which, let's be honest, is probably all the time. And I'll make a deal with you guys. If we can get this Romeo Skaggs plushie to get 1,000 sales by the end of the campaign, we will release another plushie of Skaggs in a maid dress, since I know that's something a lot of you freaks have been wanting. And our last plush almost sold 800, so I know that this is a milestone that we can hit. What are you waiting for? Go to the link in my description and cop yourself the new Romeo Skaggs for when you're having those lonely nights. Thanks again for all of your guys' support. I wouldn't be where I was today if it wasn't for you. Now, let's get back to the video. Sorry for interrupting twice. All right, so night one, I'm just gonna come right out and say it. This game is fucking terrible. Holy shit, it's so fucking bad. But we'll get into exactly why as the video goes on. Before we start talking about the 7 threats this night introduces, yes, I'm serious, it introduces fucking 7 of them, we should talk about the tools at our disposal. Let's start with our flash beacon. It's basically just a flashlight, but shittier. You know how with a flashlight you can toggle it on and off? Well, not the flash beacon. Every time you click, a fraction of a second of light will burst out of the shot, basically illuminating nothing. You have no battery life for this beacon, so if you want to see something, then what you have to do is just fucking spam click a lot, and this is what it'll look like. Doesn't that just look so fucking fun and totally not the most annoying thing in the entire world? Of course, we have a camera system as well, as you probably could have guessed. They also have no power attached to them, thankfully. Something to point out about them is that there is a metric shitload of characters you'll have to look through. Except I kind of lied, because even though this game has this many fucking cameras, only about 5 of them are even actually important, so we'll just get used to those. You can also use your flash beacon while the cameras are up, so if there's something in your office and you know it's there, you can flash it with your beacon while searching through the cameras, which honestly is pretty nice. The final tool I want to talk about right now is the turntable. To your left, you will see this turntable and it's connected to an extension cord. You have to click on the glowing red switch to turn it on, and once it's on, the power to the building gets turned off and is used to power the turntable. I really have no idea why this happens, but it happens, so let's just live with it. All right, that's about all of the tools that really matter. So let's jump into talking about the whopping 7 fucking threats introduced on this night. I have no idea whose idea was to add that many, but fuck it, let's just talk about all of them. And just a fair warning, warning, the names for the characters in this game are flat out the most retarded shit I've ever heard, so prepare yourself. The first character we'll talk about is Huggins the Clock. And yes, it's literally just your clock. They made it a threat because fuck it, why not? Pretty cool though, I can't even lie, I've never seen something like that before. Every single time the clock changes to a new hour, Huggins will desynchronize his clock from the actual time. When he does, you'll have to quickly add or remove an hour from the clock to sync it back up. If you don't, then he's gonna put his clock without the L directly in your rear. Pin and Pawn are the next two fuckers I want to mention. They're these little stupid dolls on your right desk. At random, they will just fall over. Fucking retards. When they do, all you have to do is flash them and they'll jump back up onto their stands. If one of them leaves the table, you don't lose, but if both of them leave, then it's game over. Something you might be noticing is that these threats are not very challenging sounding at all. And while that's true that most of the characters in this game don't pose that big of an issue, what makes the game truly fucking horseshit is its terrible case of post-shift 2 syndrome, as it literally never tells you under any circumstance how to deal with these threats. It's not mentioned in any phone calls, it's not written down anywhere, and there's not even an explanation after you die to a character. You're just left to fucking figure it out on your own. Do you know how stupid that is? Do you know how retarded that is? Who made this game? Satan? Because I don't know anybody else that could create dog shit quite as steamy as this fucking pile of fecal matter right here. Anyways, let's continue. There's still a fuck ton of characters to talk about. Just keep in mind that you're never told what I'm about to tell you. Handy the Panda is both the most generic name for a panda of all time and the next threat this night introduces. Pandy will start on camera 2B and move to 1B, then 1A, then 3C. Before we continue, I want to mention that every single animatronic in this game has the exact same sound cue, and it is incredibly loud directly in my fucking ears. When Pandy gets to your office, you need to very precisely put your mouse in the middle of his face, not a pixel too far left or too far right in the middle. Then spam your beacon right in his stupid bear eyes. Do this enough and he'll start violently shaking, which would imply you gave him a seizure, which I really hope is canon. And then after that, keep flashing him more since you can't stop when he's shaking. Only then will he finally leave you alone. All right, Dovey the dog is the next character to talk about. He is the first of 4 camtronics I want to talk about. And camtronic is a new term I'm coining to reference a character in a FNAF game that solely takes place on the cameras. I expect it to be used forever now. Thank you. Anyways, Dovey is super easy. Most basic camtronic of all time. He will start in Cam 2A. He's gonna try to progress through 3 different phases in this camera, and all you have to do is flash him once to make him go back on stage. If at any point you let him progress 2 stages, then he'll never be able to go back to stage 1, instead having his furthest back stage be stage 2, obviously making him much more scary to deal with overall. So how about we all just agree to not let that happen? Next up is Trojan, not the condom. Instead, it's the troll face mafia gangster. Yes, I'm serious, that's its name. I think it'd be more serious sounding if he was just a box of condoms, I can't even lie. Trojan starts in camera 3A and is quite literally exactly the same as Dovey. Seriously, the mechanic is identical. Just flash him to keep him away, and that's it. Next up is Dibby and Daba. Holy shit, these might be the worst fucking names yet. I can't quite decide. They're all so uniquely terrible. These characters are basically just one since they move together in tandem. They're in camera 3B, and they do the exact same thing as Trojan and Dovey. Are you beginning to notice a pattern with these camera characters? Because I am. They're all the fucking same. Flash to keep them back. Moving on. Finally, we move on to Karen, who is the name of a fucking dragon. So why the hell did they give a dragon the name Karen? Who knows? But do you guys want to take a guess what she does? She starts in either camera 4A or camera 4B. She can move between these 2 cameras whenever she wants, but her central mechanic is exactly the same as all of the other camtronics. That being, you just have to flash her every once in a while to stop her from fucking you. Hooray! Doesn't this just sound like such a fun, cool, and awesome game? No. Yeah, that's because it's just fucking not. This game doesn't have any post-night minigames, so that means we're free to just jump right into night 2, is what I would say if we didn't have another phone call. And remember how long that last phone call was? Yeah. Well, the phone call for night 2 is 6 fucking minutes long! No, I'm not joking! Why the hell is it so fucking long? It's double the length of the first night, and we're not even in game, so we can't even click through the cameras.
We're actually just stuck looking at this stupid fucking wall for 6 minutes while some bitch talks into my ear about some shit I'm really not paying attention to. God fucking damn it, bro. During the phone call, Valentina mentions no signs of intruders, but of course mentions the moving characters. Parallels are drawn to the robots that move around the Fazbear restaurants, so I guess this game takes place in the same universe, so that's pretty cool. Haven't really seen that since we've covered Jolly. They talk about how the characters are sensitive to light, which we've already had to figure out on our own. Our cousin says she'll bring it up to Grandma, but for some reason, we say we'd rather figure it out on our own. Why? I don't fucking know. Moving on to the night section. Night 2 introduces 3 new threats, bringing the total up to 10, and it's only the second night, so I guess I'll just kill myself. The first goon I want to talk about is Snowball and Ghost, the first not completely retarded name I've heard in this game. And these characters are the sole reason why we need our record player or the turntable. It's the same fucking thing. He serves to be an annoyance character and not a character that will actually kill you. Throughout the night, Snowball will turn off your fucking turntable himself, and will keep his finger over it to prevent you from turning it on. This is where Ghost comes into play. While your turntable is off, Ghost will start to slowly manifest in front of your desk. Once he fully appears, he'll rip you limb from limb. Now you might be thinking, if I can't interact with Snowball, how am I supposed to prevent this from happening? Well, once again, the game never fucking tells you this, but after a certain amount of time, God knows what, Snowball will just choose to take his finger off the turntable with no sound cue, allowing you to turn it back on. So you just need to constantly be checking on this guy to know if it's safe or not to look at him again. And look at this stupid fucker's smug ass face. Stop looking at me like that before I take your carrot and shove it right up your ass. Next up is Matty Gavillion, who I'm just going to be calling Matt because typing Matty Gavillion just takes way too fucking long and I'm not about to do all that like 16 times. Occasionally, Matt will start to play a little tune on his guitar. The song will either be in your left or right ear. If you hear it in your right ear, you have to flash your vent, which I've neglected to mention so far because up until this point it hasn't been important. Anyways, if you hear the guitar on your left side, then all you have to do is flash the hallway until it stops, and congratulations, you done. Moving on, the final threat introduced on this night is Cocoa Bite, who is pretty straightforward. He will make his way from camera 2 all the way to the front of your office. You deal with him in the exact same way you deal with Pandy. You may be wondering why I'm talking about a game that's this fucking boring, so I'll go ahead and spoil the surprise for you. This game has a sequel that is a lot fucking cooler and that I really do want to talk about. But in order for me to do that, I have to first talk about this fucking dumpster fire. Anyways, night 3 time. Phone call for night 3 is 5 fucking minutes long for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Solely this long, probably just to piss me off. The phone call reveals another instance of supernatural phenomena where Valentina experiences nervousness and hallucinations intensified by the turntable's music. The cousin provides advice to unplug the turntable, but Valentina hesitates for sentimental reasons and practical concerns of breaking antiques. The turntable cannot simply be unplugged because of the snowman's interference. Maybe perhaps cutting it would work. They talk about not bringing Camillo, which I'm pretty sure is Valentina's cousin, in for night 4, and that's really all the phone call has to talk about. During night 3, you get the ability to cut the cord on the outlet to the turntable, but spoiler alert, if you do, Snow Bitch will just kill you, so don't do that. Pretty cool that you're allowed to though. This night only introduces one new threat, but if there's one thing you know about this game, it's the guy we're about to talk about. His name is Nabar, which those of you with a keen eye will be able to notice is an anagram for Barney. And the reason why it's an anagram? Oh yeah, it's because Nabar is literally just fucking Barney. Why did they not call him Barney? I have no idea. Unfortunately, he's not even remotely interesting at all. He's just exactly the same as both Pandy and Cocoa Bite. Get to the office, spam flash him, and he leaves. Boring as fuck. Now, at the end of the night, we get some dialogue of Valentina going into the back room where Camillo is supposed to be, except Camillo is fucking missing because he was kidnapped, and it was at this point where I really started to question what the fuck I was even playing. We hear a scream, presumably Camillo's, followed by a disembodied voice saying, and night 3 comes to a close. What a wild ride so far. Let's move on to the night 4 phone call, which thankfully this time is only a single minute long, so I'll just let it play out.
Valentina, where are you?
In Grandma's store, of course. I have to find Camillo.
Are you crazy? It's dangerous. You should stay home. The complaint is already made. and your parents will come back tonight. Leave the search for Camilo to the police.
I can't do it, Cristobal. Don't you understand? I can't sit idly by for the cops to decide to act. They said they can't do anything until several days have passed since the complaint. I don't plan to wait that long.
It's part of their protocol.
I don't care about protocol. What if it's too late? You know what? Forget this. I'll find Camilo by myself.
Night 4 introduces 2 new threats, and thankfully, one of them actually has a new mechanic, so let's just quickly talk about the fucking snooze fest first, that being Bait and Clop. He's just handy again, come to your office, flash, boring as fuck, now I'm into the goods. The next threat introduced on this night is called the Armor. The Armor is really fucking cool, but he's so slow that you'll honestly barely encounter him, which is really unfortunate because once again, he's really cool. It'll make its way from the entrance to your office, and this time, instead of just flashing his face, you have to turn on the turntable until he leaves. Now listen, I know I said he was gonna be interesting, but shut the fuck up and trust me, we're not done talking about this game yet, so it'll get a little bit better, I promise. But that's really all Night 4 has going on, so let's move on to Night 5. Night 5's phone call is back up to 5 fucking minutes for no reason. Why is it doing this to me? I want to kill myself. This is torture. Valentina makes a voicemail to Cristobal. She's expressing her deep concern over his and Camilo's disappearance and the supernatural events encountered. She speculates that the antiques and animatronics themselves might be responsible for the thefts and movement within the store, indicating sentient or autonomous behavior in the haunted setting. Suddenly, a sinister voice mocks the player, marking the probable endgame scene or a game over scenario. The antagonist reveals they had to get rid of Cristobal and warns the player they might not escape alive, though she might get to meet him soon. Alright, Night 5 introduces both the best, yet at the same time most frustrating character throughout this entire game. That character is Nico Gavillion, who I'm just going to be calling Nico since that's a hell of a lot easier. Throughout the night, Nico will randomly appear in front of you with a ring around him. The ring will be filled with letters of the alphabet completely scrambled around. You need to click the letters to spell the word Nico using the letters around him. This is a really interesting mechanic, and I've never seen anything quite like it. I'm not gonna question how it makes sense since this game has already made it clear there's weird paranormal shit, so who knows, maybe Nico just doesn't like his own name for some reason. Also, for what purpose did they have to make this guy's head so fucking big? God damn, bro! Of course, the AI of all of the other characters are increased as well, but that goes without saying. But that's all this night really has to offer. After completing it, we hear Valentina send a voicemail to her grandma. The final voicemail to grandma frames most of the events. 5 nights of ongoing terror at the antique store, strange animatronics, and supernatural activity. Valentina insists on meeting in person to reveal the bizarre occurrences, acknowledging the disbelief others might have, but underscoring the urgency and danger. She states before she leaves that she wants to look around the place, noting a door she saw that piqued her interest. And yes, by the way, of course, even after that, there's still a Night 6. And no, there's no boss fight night. That wasn't really a big thing back when this game was made. It's just a harder version of Night 5. Who really cares? What we do care about is the cutscene that takes place after Night 6. This cutscene goes back to the 8-bit style we saw at the beginning of the game. In this minigame, it's revealed that our grandma has been evil the whole time or some stupid bullshit nobody cares about. The part that's actually kind of cool is Valentina gets fucking jumped by grandma and is stuffed inside of a puppet suit left to die. Fantastic. Nice to know all that work we did was for nothing. Anyways, that's all the last Psy 1 has to offer. As I've already said, there's another game that I actually really do want to talk about, so we'll hop into that in just a moment. But I really want to mention how piss poor this game is. Granted, this is probably one of the oldest fan games to come out of this community, so you can give it a little bit of leeway there, but I just can't get over how there are like 15 characters in this game, yet somehow only 4 mechanics. That's just insane to me. Really gives off some FNAF 2 syndrome, which like, yuck. I hate that shit. Anyways, let's jump into a much better game, The Last Psy 2. The Last Psy 2 opens to yet another 8-bit cutscene. We get to see Valentina being put into the suit again, picking up right where we left off. Grandma casts a fucking spell that does a body swap using her own soul, which is just insane. Didn't know Grandma knew the dark arts like that. We then see Coco Bite, yes, the animatronic, talk to Cristobal, who I'm pretty sure is Valentina's cousin. It never says that this is Cristobal, but I literally have no idea who else this could possibly be. And I'm pretty confident that it is indeed Cristobal. Anyways, Coco Bite says he'll let us go so that this is on our back. That's literally what he says word for word. I think what this is supposed to mean is that the vision of Valentina dying will forever be looming over our shoulders. Like, we'll hold the weight on our shoulders. I'm guessing that's what that means. I'm not totally sure. Again, originally these games are in Spanish, but he says that next time there will be no witnesses. We then get another cutscene talking about some functionality test. We click on the snow dick a few times and then see the armor, and then this happens? The screen turns red? I don't really know why, but that's what happens, so sure. That's cool, I guess. And with that, we're thrown into this game's version of the phone calls, which thankfully are actually something this time and not just boring dick. During this section, we're put into an old haunted building. We get a call from a girl named Francesca, and she asks us if we have everything ready to get going. She gives us the rundown on where we are and what we need to do each night. Who cares? The name of the place we're at is a theater called Eternos Recuerdos. While on the phone with Fran, we're not able to respond to her for some reason. However, we have a camera in our clothes, which I'm assuming is just like a body cam or something, as this was another line a bit lost in translation, and that we should flicker our light for our responses to what she's saying. We have 5 things with us every single night: our earphones to listen to Fran, our flashlight, which you may notice in this game calls a lantern. This affects puppets and animatronics. We get a screwdriver for some fucking reason. I really don't know why. A defense device, which I will just be calling the DD. We use this to hack into different systems, whatever that means. And of course, it needs electricity to function. And finally, we have a lighter in case the flashlight isn't enough light. Sure. As we walk through the doors, we enter a U-shaped hallway of the theater. There are 3 paths that we can take. However, on night 1, we only need to go right. Before we get to the office, we have to go upstairs to reach the room every night. We can run up the stairs. However, there are puppets close to us that could attack us if we run. But if we just take longer and walk up the stairs instead, they won't ever attack. So just take your fucking time and walk to avoid the problem. They always say the best way to block an attack is not have to block it in the first place. And that applies here too. Once we get to the office, we're told our goal for the night. But before we talk about that, let's go over all of the tools at our disposal. To start, there are 4 directions we can look. Directly in front of us is our computer, to our right is a window, to our left is the door, and behind us is a bookshelf. We of course have a camera system. However, we need to flash activate them to see the rooms. This will be a lot more important later, so I'll talk more about it then. In this game, there are also a very small amount of cameras, which I'm very grateful for since the last game almost gave me a heart attack with how much it had. Once again, we have infinite power, so we don't have to worry about that either. Our DD, or defense device, is our main source of defense, as the name would suggest. It has its own tab, kind of like the mask from FNAF 2. However, you cannot use it at the same time as your cameras. This thing is a little confusing to use and is really a pain in the ass. We have to use it to hack the PC password and get into the PC for the tasks we have to complete. When an animatronic gets near, a notification will show up on the DD. Pull the DD up and it will give you exact instructions on where to point your flashlight. You don't need the device to be selected on a specific character for this to work. It has all the animatronics and Huggins the clock for some reason, even though I never encountered him during the night sections, which would make me think he's a rare encounter or something like that. And our DD has infinite power, so that's really nice to not have to constantly worry about that. The next tool is our flashlight, which of course we use to deal with the animatronics. There's no power source to it, and this time it doesn't only light up for a fraction of a second and is actually a normal flashlight for the love of fuck. It works in tandem with the DD like I've already mentioned, as the DD will tell you a random part of the animatronic's face you have to shine the flashlight at. It's going to swap between facial features multiple times, so just make sure you're really ready to pay attention. Every animatronic has a different location and a different amount of times you need to flash them. So that means it's time for us to start talking about the threats that this night introduces. The first is Pandy. You remember him, right? Yeah, you remember him. He's cool. He'll make his way to your door. Once he sprints in front of you, you have to flash him 3 different times in 3 different places to make him go away. Again, the DD will tell you which places to do this in, and since it's random each time, I can't really tell you. This is super easy, but of course, it's only night 1, so that's to be expected. The next threat introduced on this night is Coco Bite. He's a lot slower moving than Pandy is, but overall he's the same, except he goes to your window. So this whole night will pretty much just be a Five Nights at Candy simulator where you look left, look right, and respond when you need to. Now, all of that was pretty boring, so let's move on to the tasks that we have to complete during this night. Of course, we need to hack into our wicked bitch grandma's PC and upload her files onto our DD. Every night requires a different type of files, and as you can see, there are a fuck ton of files that we have to upload each night. On night 1, we need to steal 90 megabytes of audio files. They're not all in one spot, and you'll actually have to dig through her files to be able to find them, which I actually think is pretty cool. That doesn't sound like a lot, but grandma's internet is doo-doo ass, so this is gonna take a while. Something really interesting about this game is that if you complete the tasks before the night ends, then the night will end early, which is really nice and I like a lot. There's no post-night minigame, so we can just jump right into night 2, which does have us go on a side quest before going to the office. Once we get to the hall, Fran has us go down the left hall to investigate. We're greeted by a locked door. On the right, a doll and a door. We're told we have to find a key. All we have to do is knock on the locked door, look at the doll, pick up the key that the doll has for some fucking reason. This is like some Ao Oni shit, and enter the room before the doll can straight tickle my shit. Entering the room, we're told to turn our light on and exorcise spirits inhabiting different objects. Really getting into the paranormal stuff in this fan game, and I'm all for it. We have to exorcise 8 groups of objects, and at the top of the screen, we'll see which object has progress, and the progress doesn't increase if we aren't holding our light on them, which is how we exorcise them. Of course, one of these little side quests wouldn't be complete without a threat we have to deal with at the same time. And this time we have to deal with Barney. Barney will randomly show up on either the far left or far right sides of the room. All we have to do is flash him and he'll go away. Simple shit, really, but after that, we can go to the office. The file choice we have to download tonight is text files. You do this the same way you did it the last night. We have 2 new threats introduced on this night, and one of them is already recurring from approximately 37 seconds ago. So let's start by talking about Barney. Barney is just an eye slut. Awesome. We love those in our FNAF games, don't we? Barney is in camera 5, and he will make his way through several phases before attempting to spit inside of you. Literally, all you have to do is stare at him with the flash on, and this will make him go away. Not very hard at all, and you really won't have to do it that often during this night. Plus, you'll get a warning at the bottom of the screen when he's attacking anyways, so it's super easy. The other character introduced on this night is Jimmy. Quite literally the first normal name in this entire series. Jimmy is the character that sits behind you. Throughout the night, he will slowly wind himself up behind you. He'll try to move around a lot in an attempt to kill you, but he also toys with you a little bit. You will have to check behind you very often, and if he ever moves from behind you, he will either go to your left or your right. Figure out which side he went to and flash your light on him, and he'll go back to being behind you, and the cycle will continue. But that's really all we have to talk about, and at this stage in the game, you won't really need a strategy since it's really easy, and I honestly think that finding the files you need to find is a lot more difficult than actually dealing with the threats. All right, night 3. The moment I knew this series needed to be covered in a white video, since this night really shows off how this is not going to be your normal FNAF fan game. It's so much more. During this night, by the time you get to the theater, there's already an animatronic activated and waiting for you. Going into the hallways, we see Cocoa Bite waiting for us, so we run to the auditorium. Once we load into the auditorium, the game turns into a fucking first-person free roam game. What the fuck? This is so cool. I was honestly not expecting this at all, and this section of the game is honestly one of my favorites. In this auditorium with us is Pandy, who will randomly roam around. Our goal is to scan Pandy with our DD for a reason I'm not totally sure on, but of course, we can't let Pandy see us. We will have to follow him around the room, hiding behind chairs so that we're not spotted. This section is in no way difficult, but I do think it's super fucking cool and something that more fan games need. We need sections in games where interesting shit like this happens. It makes the whole process feel so much more enjoyable. I actually have no idea why we need to get data from him, and this honestly just raises a lot more questions. After leaving the auditorium, you get the option to either leave the building or go to the office. Spoiler alert, if you choose to leave, Cocoa Bite will just pack your shit up because he's waiting for you by the entrance. So our only real option is to go into the office and start the night section. The file type on this night we have to upload is image files, and I'm really hoping we don't find Grandma's goon folders while searching. Alright, on this night we have 2 new threats introduced, and one of the previous threats gets an upgrade that makes him a lot more aids. So let's start with him. This character in question is our favorite fucker, Barney. He can now attack any camera with a visual cue of his fake form. When this happens, you must find him on the cameras. Fucking just Shoot me in my fucking head. I can't remember the last time I didn't have to say that in a white video. Please kill me. Anyways, once you find him there will be 6 letters circling him. This part is very reminiscent of Nico from the first game. Take a look at these letters around Barney. I want you to take a guess what it is we have to spell with these letters. Go ahead, take a look. I'll give you some time. Let's look together. I'm not fucking seeing it. I'm not fucking seeing it. All right, that's enough time. Did you make your guess? Well, I bet you got it wrong because you have to spell no real and he'll finally fuck off. Why do you have to spell no real? And why does this work? I have no idea. Don't get me wrong, I love the new mechanic, but I would also love it if it made sense too. Anyways, the next threat introduced on this night is Barry. Barry attacks your door and he's way more difficult than Pandy and Cocoa Bite are. He only has 3 places to flash him. However, he moves like a fucking crack addict in Florida whenever you flash him, making you have to play aim trainer like when you're in school trying to copy what the teacher wrote on the board, but they're low-key standing in front of it. The whole flashing process with Barry also takes a fuck of a lot longer than both Pandy and Cocoa Bite. So say your prayers, little boy, because if you don't got aim, I hate to break it to you, but you're totally fucked. The final threat introduced on this night is Bait and Clop. Foul and disgusting name, by the way. He's pretty much the same as Barry, except he attacks your window instead of your door. And holy fucking shit, if you thought Barry spazzed out when you flashed him, you are not ready for Bait and Clop. Just look at this little fucking sped. He's going insane. I wish you the best of luck if you have bad hand-eye coordination, because this is fucking brutal. Oh my god. All right, now it's time for us to talk about night 4. Tonight, we have to go to the left hallway and investigate because we make terrible decisions instead of leaving. Do you remember the other door on the right side of the hall from last night? Yeah. That's where we're going. You'll have to deal with a little doll before entering the room. All you have to do is hold your light on him, and that's it. Then we can enter the room and the real fun can begin. Once you enter the room, we get greeted to just a bunch of random shit. We can see a Bonnie mask, statues, cum socks, and for some reason, even the rat from Five Nights at Candy's 3 is here, which is pretty interesting. Anywho, of course, there's a threat, and that threat is Jimmy, who I am not excited to see at all. So this part is really fucking confusing, I can't lie, but I do think it's pretty cool. Basically, you'll have to hold your light on Jimmy to keep his ass on the floor. He will jump up and move around the room like Vinny from Five Nights at Candy's 3, so you'll have to be following him around quickly. Once he drops to the floor, another doll will appear, and Fran tells us we have to burn her. This is the real reason we have that lighter. As we burn her, random words will start to appear and slide across the screen. You'll then have to hold the lighter on her and make sure your mouse doesn't touch any of the words, or else the doll will crawl up inside of you like that gerbil you didn't tell anybody about. You fucking disgusting freak. You'll have to repeat this process until you kill the doll, and then we take her with us for something else later. No, it's not sexual. Stop thinking like that. I'll get into why we take the doll with us in a little bit. Let's jump into the night section now. The file type we have to collect this time is video files. Now I'm really hoping we don't find Grandma's goon folder. This night doesn't introduce new threats, but it does upgrade the 3 threats we talked about last night. Barney now will not appear in camera 5 anymore, instead opting to just be an asshole and spam his spelling lesson attack a lot more, which really just makes my penis invert up inside of my body. Barry and Bait and Clop get the same upgrade on this night, but it really just makes them completely terrible. They were already pretty bad from how much they moved around, but on this night they can actually move the bookshelf behind you and fucking blow your guts up from the back whenever they feel like it. So now you've got a lot more shit you constantly have to check on, which just makes this night take a whole lot longer to beat. This night is where you'll actually start to need a strategy, since this is where the difficulty really starts to become apparent. Every 2 to 3 files you upload, you should turn around to check on Jimmy. After that, deal with any other immediate threat like Barry or Cocoa Bite. If Barney ever attacks, always deal with him first, since he will be your biggest issue by far. And the other animatronics will give you enough time to deal with him, thankfully. Whenever you deal with any threat, check on Jimmy, then go back to the files. This makes the night take a pretty long time, but it's by far the safest way to play. Now, it's at this point where this game gets really interesting. It consists of 2 different endings, and of course, I'll be going over both, covering the bad ending first. If you get all of the files from nights 1 through 4, instead of loading to the entrance, now you'll be greeted with a skull. He greets you with a somber, "Yo, here we are." That's how I imagine he sounded. Anyways. He states that you have every single piece in your hands and asks if we're smart enough to solve the small puzzle. I personally am retarded and have no idea what he's talking about. But if you say no or say yes and get the puzzle wrong, then you'll get to proceed to the bad ending. And he'll tell us that it's sad that our fate was decided, which really doesn't give me a good feeling at all. Loading into the entrance, we're told to go to the auditorium to investigate. Upon arriving, we see Huggins in the middle of the aisle. Literally just go left or right and he won't kill you. No problem. Making our way to the stage, we see an animatronic we don't know the name of, but it appears to be aggravated by our presence. We ignore it and leave for the office, only to find out that that very animatronic is following us. Getting inside of the office, the night begins, and at exactly 15 seconds, we're greeted to our DD bugging the fuck out and the computer being turned into a console, as the name on our DD changes to Rover. And that's a perfect segue into the only threat present on this night, Rover Lee. Rover Lee is obviously a boss fight character, with mechanics that were shown to us way back at the beginning of the game. Let's go over the computer first, since that will be the main way we deal with Rover. The computer has the text Rover Lee lockdown core. If you type help, you'll see 3 commands. CLS will clear the text on the screen, out will expel the souls for 15 seconds, I'll go over what that means in just a minute, and move X will move Rover towards a camera, so you can just replace the X with the name of the camera. When you use the out command, it takes between 25 and 35 seconds at random until the souls get expelled. Again, I'll get back to that in a second. The computer has a random chance to have an error, because RNG needs to be in every FNAF game for it to be interesting. The error will slow any expulsion, but will not cancel out the already expelled souls. All you have to do is click and hold a bar at the bottom of the monitor and you'll be chilling to get rid of it. Oh yeah, and you can only use the move command if Rover has all of the souls expelled. Now let's talk about Rover Lee, the actual boss. He has 5 different attacks that he can use, and I'm not gonna lie, some of them require the best hand-eye coordination I've ever seen in my life. His first attack is just him being an eye slut for a majority of the night. You have to watch him on camera 1A to stall him, but if he moves, he will never move back unless you specifically use the move command. His second attack, he'll have him reach your office, and if he does, you'll have to do a standoff against him. You will get a prompt saying that Rover is near your door. You have to look at the door with your DD up and then play some Five Nights at Candy's 3 type shit, tracking his face like this is aim labs. He'll jump from one side of your office to another, to behind the computer, to in your urethra, a whole bunch of fun shit. You need to have insane reflexes because you cannot afford to mess up for even a second. Honestly, it's best to just make sure he never reaches your office by using the move commands and stalling him, because this attack can quite literally last for the entire night. It's fucking brutal. Attacks 3 and 4 are pretty much the same, so I'll talk about them at the same time. Rover is possessed by 2 different souls, and each of them can attack you. The blue soul can only attack your door, and the orange soul can only attack your window. This is where your DD really comes into play. You have to tune the color frequency of your DD to match the color of the soul that is attacking you. That doesn't make any fucking sense, but it pleases the demons, so please the demons I will do to make them hop up off me. His 5th and final attack has both of the souls attack you from behind. When this happens, you have to turn around and face a Rover-like ghost. You need to look him in the eyes like your girlfriend asks you to do, but you have autism, so it makes it really hard, and use the DD to match the color frequency 3 times instead of just 1. Sometimes the color can change, and sometimes it'll stay the same, which is obviously the option we'd want because that's easier. The strategy for this night is generally easy, but acting like this night doesn't require more skill than most of the other Final Nights I've talked about on this channel would be an understatement. The moment the night starts, you'll want to immediately type out. Once this happens, stare at Rover until you need to deal with the souls or fix the console. Rinse and repeat until the end of the night. And honestly, if Rover ever gets into your office, just restart. Because I promise you, you're not going to survive that fight once he's in. You just won't. If you can survive all the way until 6 a.m., Rover Lee will enter your office and fucking kill you. Spotting that you've been controlling them from the computer, they are rightfully pissed the fuck off. A cutscene plays of Rover confronting Grandma, calling her daughter, saying that she lied to them, and complains a bunch like a woman. Then Rover fucking evaporates Cocoa Bite and Pandy and then RKOs the shit out of Grandma. Actually a batshit crazy insane ending that I personally love. But we can't forget that all of that was just the bad ending. We still have the good ending to talk about. Before we start talking about the good ending, we need to talk about the files we've been collecting throughout the game. I'll go over them in detail a bit later, but that's going to take a really long fucking time. So instead, I'll just give you the quick rundown summary now. Omegna, the grandma, had a sister named Sani. Their mom died and their dad became an alcoholic. They ran away after getting beat, only to be brought in by an old lady. Sani steals some shit and Omegna slaps her for doing so. Sani runs away and is never seen again. It was never Omegna that was doing all the shit we've been going through. Apparently it was Sani. Again, that's a very, very rough outline of these files. I'll do a deep dive in a few minutes. Don't you worry your pretty little head off. Yeah, guys, my favorite part about eating a Reese's cup is peeling the panties off. You're gonna leave that in, aren't you, editor? Asshole. Anyways, now we can talk about the good ending. Back to the skull, the puzzle he asks is, what trick did you fall for? There will then be letters for you to spell with, and you need to spell the word twins. These twins, I'm imagining, is in reference to the sisters. He then says that everybody fell for that, and then asks their names, which you will then need to input Omegna and Sani. He will then state that there is something more important than the names. He asks us which one is the which, and you need to answer Sani. Bars, by the way, right there. Sani was the one behind it all along. She fooled everyone and made Omegna go to prison for a crime she never committed. She made you think our family betrayed us. The skull then asks, who of them are in jail? Which of course we know is Omegna. So that's what you have to answer. Yes, by the way, this section is incredibly convoluted. I'm aware, just stay with me for a little bit longer. Finally, the skull says we know what we have to do and wishes us good luck. As we load into the entrance, we're told that we talked about a hidden room inside of the building. Fran is worried a bit, but trusts us and helps us by luring whatever is inside out. We're told to hide in the utility closet from way back in night 2. Entering the room, we're met with Barney. He looks very beaten up and broken, which is why he wasn't attacking on night 4 and camera 5. That makes sense now, and I honestly think it's a really small but cool reveal. He says the witch is who hurt him, the same person who took him back to life, giving him a new life. He says that the state he is in is the cost of the ones who made her angry. And I'm gonna be so honest, I have no idea what the fuck that means. I'm nowhere near smart enough to comprehend it, so hopefully you guys can. He says that nobody here will let us leave, not even the witch. He says to give up and turn ourselves in, and how he doesn't regret anything he did. He just wanted to see the kids smile. Now I really have no idea why the fuck he added in that last line. Very fucking weird, and I'm just gonna choose to move past it. We leave and are told by Fran that the bookshelf is open and it's clear to go in. Going through it, we find another staircase that leads to the home, the name of the place the animatronics go when they aren't active. Upon arrival, we notice that we have to unscrew a case to acquire a key. However, this is of course not going to be as easy as it sounds. During this section, we have two of the most fucking aggressive characters I've ever seen in my entire life. It is insane. But before we talk about them, let's go into the layout of this section. Looking to your left, you'll notice the doll you picked up from night 4. Her name is Jenny, and she is how you deal with both of these threats. But holy fucking shit, the hitbox on this goddamn doll head is fucking ass. So fucking tiny for no goddamn reason, fuck! You must drag Jenny's head to make her look at either of the two hallways to the room we're in. The left hall has Bait and Clop, and the right hall has Barry. Now, when I tell you guys that these two are aggressive, I mean it. Holy shit, the goal of this night is to just slowly unscrew 4 screws, but it takes so fucking long because these two will quite literally be attacking you every 2 seconds. And that's not an exaggeration. Just look at the screen right now and tell me this doesn't look fucking insane. Every time you successfully turn Jenny's head towards them and flash them to make them go away, they seriously have a chance to show up again immediately afterwards, making this section take fucking minutes and minutes longer than it would ever need to. And one of the best parts is that they can both attack you at the exact same time. That's just fucking perfection. I hate it here. Fuck! This means you literally have a chance, and a pretty likely chance at that, to encounter them 4 times in a row. You are going to make so little progress unscrewing these screws, it's ridiculous. However, once you manage to unscrew everything and grab the key we need, we go back upstairs and start the night. During hours 0 through 3 of the 5th night is all well and good, just the normal characters like we're used to. Except with one small tweak that they turned on the fucking gas this night, because holy shit, it's like seriously quadrupled the difficulty of night 4. It is fucking insanely hard. All of that is well and good, but once you hit 3 a.m., Rover Lee activates, and it's pretty much just night 5 from the bad ending. So just use the same strategy we used then, and we'll be golden. No problem at all. Just for the love of fuck, don't let him get in your office, because that minigame is more impossible than Shadow, Rat, and Cat all challenges, I swear to God. Once you reach 6 a.m., Fran tells us she's sorry and that everything is ready for us. She also mentions to check the safe that's been in our office this entire game. Inside, we see the doll Valentina is possessing, which I actually think is really fucking cool. This part honestly reminds me a lot of the ending of Saw 2, which, quick little spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen the Saw movies and really want to, it reminds me of the part at the end of Saw 2 where they reveal that the main character's kid has been stuck inside of a safe in the room they were in the entire time. It's so fucking cool, I love it. We grab Valentina and burn the building down as we leave. We then see a cutscene with Sanny. She's obviously pissed as fuck and is about to start her villain arc. She says she won't let herself be caught and that nobody is going to be happy, which just screams sequel right in my little gamer ears. But that is all the good ending has to offer. And now, sadly for me, I have to fulfill a promise I made a few minutes ago and talk about the files we collected, which is really just going into the extras and doing a fuck ton of reading. So let's just get all that bullshit over with. Let's start with the audio files. They consist of our great-grandfather's music, the sound of the curse Sanny uses, and Camillo's ghost, which is pretty fucked up. You have the ability to recreate the memories from these files, and doing so gives you an 8-bit minigame to play around in. The audio memory has us play as Omegna as a child as we see her father wallow in despair. She then leaves to go to her room and sleep, giving her dad some space. By the way, all of these minigames are going to piece together that summary I gave you before the good ending, so if it sounds like I'm repeating myself, it's pretty much because I am. The text files are a bunch of newspapers with a fuck ton of words. Like, oh my god, so many goddamn words, I really don't want to read them all, but fuck me, I'm gonna do it for the video. I'll have the editor put Subway Surfers or some shit on the screen, and for those of you that don't care about what these newspapers say, you can skip to the time on your screen right here to just learn about the minigame we'll be talking about directly after. Newspaper 1. Mysterious serial thefts of animatronic dolls continue to baffle the city. Friday, June 12th, 2015. All the missing animatronics belonged to large restaurant chains or family-run establishments with locations in the region. Last Thursday, June 11th, a fourth animatronic figure was reported missing in the city, this time from the Animagic's Burger Place, restaurant located on the outskirts of Santiago. The figure in question is Barry, a shark that performs magic tricks for the audience, and a companion to another of the missing animatronics. The establishment has already been closed for about a month due to the disappearance of another of its figures and the restaurant's mascot, Coco Bite. The security cameras had been damaged since the previous incident, so no footage was found of how the figure disappeared. With this incident, the total number of disappearances in just 2 months has reached 4. Previous disappearances included Pandy, whose original Chinese name is Tao, Batenclop, the animatronic from Batenclop's Terror House, and the aforementioned Coco Bite from Animagic Burger Place. The prosecutor's office claims to have no idea who is responsible for these thefts, nor their motive. We don't know what whoever is stealing these animatronics might want. The investigation hasn't yielded anything yet, stated PDI officer Diego Alarcon. In our opinion, the most likely scenario is that these thieves want to sell the pieces, but we can't confirm anything. There are more valuable items inside, so it's surprising they didn't take them. The officer also reported that the investigation is ongoing and that they will do everything possible to get to the bottom of this. On the other hand, the restaurant CEO stated that it will have to remain closed until the robot is recovered. We are still considering ordering a replacement from the manufacturer, but since this is the second theft we've experienced, we fear they'll come back for a third. Perhaps the best course of action is to remain closed for a while longer, he declared. Newspaper 2. Missing cousins found in old antique shop belonging to their grandmother, January 15th, 2012. 2 of the victims were found with injuries, while the youngest was found dead. Yesterday morning, Sunday, January 14th, the body of a young man identified as Camilo Torres was finally found. He had disappeared early Thursday morning from the shop known as Omegna Antiques, owned by his grandmother. His 2 other grandchildren were also found with him. Valentina Torres, Camilo's sister, who is currently in a coma at the Central Hospital, and Cristobal Valdebenito, a first corporal of the Carabineros, Chilean police force, who had several minor injuries. As soon as they were found, the survivors were taken to the hospital. Valdebenito has not yet agreed to comment on what happened there, stating that he first needs to speak with his superiors about the matter. Regarding Valentina Torres' condition, the attending physician, Joaquin Soto, stated that the reasons for her unconsciousness are still unknown. Tests indicate that there is brain activity. very low, but it is there. However, the young woman has no head injuries that could explain her unconsciousness. It's a very strange case, but we are continuing to examine her, the doctor stated. Regarding Camilo Torres, according to the investigative police, PDI, the cause of death was asphyxiation by strangulation. The minor's neck showed very noticeable marks. Both his neck and part of his spine, as well as his trachea, are, in the words of prosecutor Leonardo Altamirano, destroyed. Asphyxiation of that level is very difficult to achieve. An ordinary human could not do it, he stated. In fact, it almost looks like as if his neck had been crushed by heavy metal machinery. But this doesn't quite fit considering the finger-like marks left on his neck. The PDI also stated that the investigation is not over yet, and that, although with the current leads it is difficult to reach a conclusion, they will do everything possible to get to the bottom of this and bring justice to the guilty parties. Newspaper 3. Security footage from Omegna Antiques shows the owner attacking her granddaughter, January 16th, 2012. During the investigation into the murder of the 20-year-old at the Omegna Antiques shop, police found a recording of one of the owner's computers. The recording shows the owner ordering a group of animatronic robots to kill Valentina Torres, her own granddaughter. The video from the shop's security camera network shows a young woman and her grandmother, Mrs. Omegna, the latter apparently accompanied by animatronic robots from various well-known entertainment chains, which she kept in her shop. In the recordings, she can be heard ordering the robots to get rid of her, at which point the machines step forward and begin attacking the young woman. We don't know how she could have made them work or how she could have made them obey her, stated Leonardo Altamirano, the prosecutor in charge of the case. We believe the video may be some kind of fabrication, but all of the evidence seems to indicate that this is not the case. According to the several owners of the entertainment chains who once owned those robots, those models had been discontinued for almost 2 decades and had mostly been sold at auctions long ago, which is how they are assumed to have eventually ended up in Omegna's store. For this part, Corporal Cristobal Valdebenito, one of the victims of the cousin of Valentina and her deceased brother, Camilo, stated that he had noticed his grandmother acting strangely in recent weeks, and he also identified her as the kidnapper during the days he was missing. It was a dark, cold, and old room. I could see her there. She didn't say anything significant. She was the one who had me trapped. This morning, the woman was arrested by the Carabineros, Chilean police, and will remain in custody while her connection to the incident is investigated. Holy fuck, that was a lot. But let's move on to the minigame. In this minigame, Omegna checks on her dad in the living room only to see that he's passed out drunk as fuck on the couch. She leaves to go reminisce in the kitchen. She checks the fridge only to see there's no food inside, and she wonders when Sandy will come home from her job. The image files consists of some bottles, a picture of Barney, and whatever the fuck this shit is right here. I literally have no idea what else this could be. My only guess is that the potion grants life, maybe, judging from the conversation we had with Barney, and then the Barney picture is just Barney being destroyed in the closet or getting a new life. I have no idea. And then the question mark image, bro, I'm scratching my head and my balls. You guys tell me what the fuck this is supposed to mean, bro. I've got no idea. The memory for the images has Omegna's dad drunk and yelling at her. He beats the shit out of her while she begs him to stop. He yells at her and tries to drink more, only to notice the bottle's empty. He shatters the bottle on the wall and tells Omegna that he's going to go get more. He tells them that when he gets back, he doesn't want to see either of them and that they need to go to bed now. Sandy shows up to comfort Omegna. Omegna confronts her, saying that they will not be hurt by him again. And then they run away from home together. This is probably one of the more disturbing cutscenes from this game, for obvious reasons. As far as the videos go, they're all just Pandy, Batenclop, and Cocoa Bite jittering in their new bodies. But this memory is a hell of a lot longer. Omegna and Sandy are arguing about Sandy stealing money. Sandy is thinking like a survivalist, but Omegna is thinking like a pacifist, explaining that she could just work. Sandy states that no one saw her and that she was poorer than a rat. Omegna shoots back that she shouldn't talk about herself like that and that she should be grateful that she took them in. Sandy states that the money was not entirely for herself, saying that she will buy things to help her. Omegna states that she wouldn't even accept the money, yet she should give back what she has left. Sandy states that she will not and will put the money to good use. Omegna snaps, stating that this is the last straw. She mentions that Sandy comes home late, skips school, and doesn't follow instructions. Sandy turns away, but Omegna puts her hands on her to make Sandy look at her again. Sandy states to get her hands off of her, but Omegna demands Sandy to follow her orders. Sandy snaps back, stating that Omegna isn't her mom. Omegna slaps Sanny. She apologizes, but Sanny runs away, stating that she hates Omegna and to stop bothering her. They have never seen each other again since that day. So there you go. I told you I'd cover it in more detail. Are you proud of me? Please say yes, because I've been writing the script for no joke the last 6 hours. I'm fucking dying over here. 2 more things before we wrap up. The first is this weird minigame called Pandy POV. It's just some point and click bullshit and seriously provides no lore to the story whatsoever, just a time waster. And the final thing is what happens after you beat 720 mode, which I obviously didn't fucking do because I'm not a maniac. After you complete it, you get this short cutscene. Yes, it's in Spanish. I don't give a fuck. Hop off my dick and read the subtitles.
Sigues teniendo pesadillas, ¿eh? Tranquilo. Pasaste por mucho estrés durante esas noches. Es normal, y lo sabes. Poco a poco estas se irán. Todo está bien ahora.
So there we go, a teaser for yet another game to come. And it looks like there's gonna be a character with a cane. So maybe it'll be me, who fucking knows. But as far as I'm aware, that's all the last Psy has to offer. Overall, I think this game has one of the most interesting and unique stories I've ever seen come out of a FNAF game before. Sure, I do think the first game is complete ass, but the second game really makes up for it. It looks fucking amazing, the gameplay is actually interesting, albeit incredibly difficult at times, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who wants a fun challenge. Insanity is a broad term with different meanings depending on the context, generally referring to a severely disordered state of mind, extreme folly, or a legal designation. It is not an official clinical or psychiatric diagnosis, but rather a catch-all for various forms of profound mental derangement. Truly, insanity is one of the most interesting things that human beings can face, and the various causes of it are truly fascinating to read about. Five Nights at Freddy's games often use the subject matter of insanity, but I don't feel like many of them can ever really do it right. The game we'll be covering today is a little different. That game being Crawl Space Insanity Remastered, one of the newest, coolest, and most challenging FNAF fan games the community has ever seen. We're going to be diving into every single corner of this game's mechanics, storyline, and piecing together everything you need to know. So join me today as we dive into the long-awaited video of Crawl Space Insanity Remastered. All right. I'm not at all ready to start talking about this game. As I'm writing this part of the script, it is currently 6:34 p.m. May 28th of 2026. Throughout this video, I will update you on the progress so you can get a small window of understanding of how much this game has destroyed me. The game opens to a nice prelude, and already I'm upset as this brings up a pet peeve I notice in a lot of games, not just FNAF. For some reason, the subtitles are on the bottom of the screen during the prelude. While that is totally normal for subtitles, when there's nothing to look at in the middle of the screen and it's just this fucking spiral pattern, then move the subtitles to the middle so that it takes up more dead space. I just really hate how this looks. I know it's a nitpick and it doesn't matter at all. But anyways, the prelude reads as follows.
Hello, Fritz. You have fallen. He got you. The floor beneath you shattered, and you screamed as you barreled towards the bottom of the hole. Did you see them? You could have saved them. I will make sure you never forget that, and you will make sure to stay alive the best you can. That's all you will do, and that's all that needs to be done. That's all. For now, you live in the hole.
So, it appears we play as Fritz in this game. And now is probably the time I should mention the thing everybody already knows about this game, just in case there's one or two people who are living under a rock. Crawl Space is a part of the Insanity Remastered trilogy, which is a retelling of the original Dormitibus story, minus all the disgusting shit. If you want to learn more about that, you can check out my video all about the original Dormitibus after this one. With this, we load into night one and we see that this game looks incredibly fucking boring. Let's start by going over the tools at our disposal though. To start, we have our cameras and our flashlight, which are both tied to a battery. It drains really fast, but if you're not using either of those tools, it will recharge itself. That's really all the tools. The phone guy asks us if we know who we are. Of course, we know that we're playing as Fritz and we're currently in a place known as the Hole. We're told that we have to save them, probably referring to the children. But we obviously have to save ourselves first. So let's quickly take a look at all 4 threats this first night introduces, because yes, I'm serious, there's actually 4 threats on this stupid fucking night. I'm going to talk about Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy all at the same time, since I'm not kidding, they all do the exact same thing. Yes, I'm serious. Each of them will try to approach you via the giant hallway in front of you. If they ever appear, just pull your camera up to hide from them until they go away. That's literally it. Foxy is somehow even easier. When you see him in the hallway, just flash your light at him like FNAF 2 and he'll go away. Yep, that's it. This is boring as fuck, but I'm willing to bet that you already know exactly why it's boring as fuck, and if you don't, then get ready for something crazy. Once the night hits 2 a.m., this happens. Yep, that's right. The prelude actually includes a fake night 1 and we're booted to the real title screen. You didn't really think I was about to talk about a game with a loop that boring, did you? I would never do that. All right, let's get into the real nightmare that is this godforsaken game. Jumping into the actual night, there is already a lot to go over, so I'm going to try to break it down as best I can while making it as easy to understand as possible, because there really is a lot to learn here. Let's start by talking about the phone call. Phone guy tells us about Bonnie, who we'll talk about in a second, and flipping. I will mention what flipping means later. This game uses 2 systems, sanity and stability. Throughout the night, your stability will decrease. You'll notice that your sanity never decreases and actually stays full the entire night. How do you increase your stability? Well, that's where this game introduces flipping. Its central mechanic that is actually so fucking AIDS, it actually made me question whether or not I was actually going to make a video on this. When you flip, it quite literally inverts your entire monitor so that everything is backwards. And yes, that does also include your mouse. This game fucks your entire actual monitor and flips everything around. It's easily the most nauseating and confusing mechanic I've ever dealt with in my entire life. It is fucking brutal. When you flip, your stability will start to increase again. However, in this flipped version of the whole, your sanity will start to decrease, and vice versa once you flip back to the normal version of the game. This is a super fucking cool mechanic, I can't even lie. Probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. But of course, as you could imagine, playing in flipped mode is one of the most challenging things you will ever do in your entire life. Now, as much as we could talk about that mechanic, this video is already going to be incredibly long, so let's just move on to talking about the next mechanic, that being the power system. Not much to explain here, honestly. It's just a power system from that prelude night. Using things causes it to decrease, not using it makes it recharge. Pretty simple. Of course, we also have our camera and flashlight to go along with that. The final mechanic to mention before we move on to the threat this night introduces are the vents to the left and right of you, because as you can probably tell, this office setup is pretty much just the FNAF 2 layout for the most part. You conceal these vents to the left and right of you, albeit only one at a time. And the reason you would need to do that is because of the only threat this night introduces, Fallen Bonnie. While yes, Fallen Bonnie is technically the only character introduced on this night, he has children. Why? I have no fucking idea who's cracking this monstrosity. Literally nobody, but whatever. He uses his kids to kill us, which is just A crazy thing to say now that I'm saying it out loud. Bonnie will try to make his way to either camera 4 or 5. These cameras are obviously tied to your vents. Once he enters one of these cameras, he will make the quietest sound cue of all time. But since he's the only threat right now, you can really just watch him. Eventually, he will send one of his kids through the vents he's standing at, and you'll have to quickly seal the vent before the kid turns you into an Arby's meat mountain and ravages your insides. Now, there's no penalty for keeping your vent sealed. No power is drained, and your stability and sanity will not decrease. However, if Bonnie notices a vent is sealed for too long, he'll just hot bottom over to the other vent. So the strategy for this night is really just watching him and sealing the vent when you need to. You may be wondering where flipping actually becomes needed, and I'll explain that more a bit later. But for now, sometimes your screen will glitch out, and when it does, you'll have to flip to fix it. I'd flip every time you have to seal a vent to really help you get used to it, since if you want to complete this game fully, you'll have to be doing it a lot. But with that, night 1 comes to an end, and we can move on to the first post-night minigame, which starts with the text, "You won't like what's out there." And if what's out there is Blackout, then you'd be completely correct. I don't like him very much at all, actually. Before the minigame begins, we see what appears to be Cake Bear. I couldn't imagine who else this would be. Moving to the right, we see the text, "Not yet," and then the minigame begins by telling us that we need to hold our breath to face death. Just then, we're thrown into a fucking crawl space. Get it? Like the name of the fucking game? Isn't that so fucking cool? Laugh, bitch! Laugh! Anyways, during this minigame, we have to control our breathing and our blinking for some reason. Maybe we're trapped in a spring lock suit or something like that. I'm not really sure. You can breathe by holding space and blink by holding control. Obviously, we need to keep these bars up all the way. Throughout the entire minigame, you'll be able to hear 2 people having a conversation. Barely. You will barely be able to hear 2 people having a conversation. I can't lie. It is really fucking hard to hear, and I actually have no idea what they're talking about. If you guys want to tell me, please do, because I do not have it in me to decipher the several minutes of muffled audio during these minigames. Of course, there is also a threat to defend ourselves against during this minigame, that being Angel Bonnie. He is incredibly easy to deal with. Occasionally, he will appear on your left side, and all you have to do is hold your breath, and he'll go away. Easy as fuck. Once you beat the minigame, you get the phrase, "back to sleep now," which tells me that the night sections are maybe dreams or nightmares, and then the crawl space is actually when Fritz is awake. Meaning that we're playing as a man trapped inside of a suit stuffed into a crawl space, which is some of the most fucked up stuff you could ever imagine, and I love it. And by the way, I'm pretty sure that this is in reference to probably Fritz seeing the deaths of the children, not doing anything about it, and then William stuffing him in a suit and putting him in a crawl space like a fucking Telltale Heart type thing. Which, that's fucking badass. That's badass as shit, I can't lie. Anyways, moving on to night 2, and for a small update, it is currently 7:13 p.m. Night 2 introduces 2 new threats, and along with it, 2 new mechanics. As if this game and its flipping wasn't already stressful enough. The phone guy really just tells us that we're 1 step closer to our goal. That's about it. The 2 new mechanics are our alarms and our flash beacon. Most of the cameras have alarms. You can just hold the alarm button to make them blare. And on specifically camera 5, we have a flash beacon. We'll go over why we need them in just a second. The 2 threats introduced on this night are Fallen Chica and Fallen Foxy, each of them using one of the new mechanics on this night. Let's start with Fallen Chica. Chica moves around randomly in the cameras and will at random points stop moving to sing. When she starts singing, you have to find her on the cameras. Yes, I know, it's fucking torture all of the time for me in these games. Then sound the alarm on whichever camera she's on. She can actually only attack cameras 1, 3B, 3C, and 6. So there's not a whole lot of cameras you'll have to check, which is why I'm choosing not to complain about it too much. She's not a very complicated character, but when you're playing with your entire monitor reversed, it's really fucking hard to click anything at all. Moving on to Fallen Foxy. Foxy will try to attack you via camera 5. Once he gets there, all you have to do is use the flash beacon and he'll go away. Something you'll notice about all of the characters in this game is that they're all not too difficult. It really and truly is just the flipping mechanic that makes this game so fucking hard. Something to note about camera 5 is that both Foxy and Bonnie can't be present at the same time. So lucky us, if we see Bonnie there, then we know Foxy will never attack us until Bonnie leaves. Really, the best strategy I can give for night 2 is to flip at 1 a.m. and stay flipped until you hear Chica sing. Once she does, you'll have just enough time to unflip and deal with her, then rebalance your flips for the rest of the night. This makes it so that you don't have to do most of the work while flipped, since Chica is is definitely the worst to deal with while you are because of how many clicks she requires. But with that, we get the same minigame as before with Cake Bear, and then we go into the crawl space again. This time around, Angel Chica will be added. She's pretty much the same as Bonnie, except she appears on your right, and when she does, just close your eyes until she leaves. Once again, we hear people talking a bunch, except I can't figure out what the hell they're even saying, so let's just move on to night 3. Night 3 is where this game really starts to piss me off. I'm not even lying, it makes me so fucking angry. The only reason is because one of the threats this night introduces, that being Fallen Freddy, the most confusing and annoying character ever conceived by mankind. Fallen Freddy will try to attack your generators in camera 7 and 4. We obviously cannot allow this to happen or he's gonna stick 8 pencils in my ass, which I really don't want. Once he enters one of those cameras, an alarm sound will play. When you open the cameras, you'll see a wire task from Among Us. I'm completely serious, but you shouldn't do the puzzle right away. No. Instead, what you need to do is find Freddy on either camera 7 or 4, then check to see if he's wearing his top hat. If he is wearing it, then you need to complete the task. However, if he isn't wearing his hat, then you need to complete the task incorrectly. I'm not fucking joking. What the hell kind of mechanic is that? That's like the most retarded shit I've ever heard of in my entire life. Now, Fallen Freddy is really annoying, but he's somehow nowhere near as annoying as someone else will be talking about in a little bit. Because this night also introduces another new threat, that being Fallen Puppet. Fallen Puppet will randomly show up inside of your office. When he does, you'll need to quickly waste all of your power. The fastest way to do this is by using your flash beacon, since it empties it immediately. So overall, it's really easy to deal with. However, as you could imagine, you don't really want to be wasting all of your power. And that's because of what I'm about to tell you. Because we're about to talk about how this game really rapes your ass. Night 3 upgrades each character we've seen so far from the first 2 nights and just makes them way fucking worse. So let's start with the least terrible, Fallen Chica. All Night 3 adds to her is giving her the ability to also go to cameras 4 and 5, which makes her way worse because she is just a finder on the camera character. So more cameras equals less fun for Dexter. Fallen Foxy gets the additional attack ability of turning into Withered Foxy, just jumping ass naked into your hallway and flashing his cock to you like the Fent Walker I saw in the park the other day. Just flash your flashlight at him and he'll go away. But now we can move on to literally the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life. Fallen Bonnie and his stupid fucking kids. For some reason, they also give Bonnie the ability to turn into Withered Foxy. However, he doesn't require you to flash your light at him. You'll never in a million fucking years guess what you have to do to stop him. Here, I'll even give you a multiple choice. When Fallen Foxy enters your hallway, do you have to A, hold your flashlight on him until you run out of power, then wait for the power to turn back on and then flip? B, flip the screen and turn the desk fan off? C, use the alarm on camera 4 or 5 to drag him there and then deal with him normally? Or D, find all 3 of his children that randomly appear on the cameras before he rails you? If you said D, then congrats, you picked the option that would have made me quit the game. No, thank God it's not that. But for anybody who said B, flip the screen and then turn off the desk fan, you'd be completely right because that's actually what you have to do. Why the fuck does this make him go away? I have no idea, but this is the most frustrating thing to do during this game, and I fucking hate it with all my soul. The strategy for this night is really tough, I can't lie. Really only flip when necessary or after you deal with Bonnie and the vent attack. Most threats aren't too terrible to deal with flipped, in all honesty, and you should be getting used to it at least a little bit at this point. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention Chica. She can appear on the same camera at the same time as the other characters, and if she does, most of the time you'll just lose. I can't even lie. It's really hard to deal with 2 characters at a time. However, I would recommend dealing with Chica first, since most times she'll end up being the bigger problem. Oh yeah, and don't forget that Freddy and the puppet were added on this night. I know you've probably forgotten about that after the 3 other character upgrades, but yes, 2 more threats were introduced this time. Just fucking kill me. I'll also mention here 2 death minigames I stumbled across. I don't know how many there are, but here are 2 I got. Basically, one of them has Fritz finding William stuffing the kids in the suits, and then William puts Fritz in a suit as well. No witnesses type shit. And that confirms my theory that that is why we are present in the crawl space. The other minigame is just a cutscene. It's a conversation between Fritz and another guy named Peter. Peter tells Fritz about the kids and that if he knows anything about it or learns anything to let him know. Hate to break it to you, buddy, but judging by the other minigame we just saw, I'm willing to bet that Fritz isn't gonna be able to tell you shit. The post-night 3 crawl space section is much the same as the others, except this time you will also get to see Angel Foxy. His mechanic is pretty easy. You won't be able to see him, but you will hear hear him making a clicking sound. When you hear it, just spam blink until he goes away. The only slight problem is that Bonnie and Chica can attack at the same time, but always be sure to make Foxy a priority and you'll be just fine. Once again, I can't fucking hear a word that the two guys are saying above us since the animatronics are so loud in my fucking ear. So if anybody wants to give us a summary, I'll pin your comment. Moving on to night 4, it is currently 7:48 p.m. for me, so I think I'm making pretty decent time. But during the phone call, we're told that camera 8 has been fixed. And of course, the new threats on this night will relate to that camera. But first, I want to talk about Fallen Bonnie again. Why do I want to do that? Well, he's been given yet another fucking mechanic for some reason. And the best part is that the phone guy doesn't tell you about it, which is just really cool. It's literally the same as his hallway mechanic, except this time he'll appear directly in front of you, which I will admit did scare the shit out of me the first time I saw it. Anyways, on to the new threats this night introduces, because yes, even though this game has already turned into a clusterfuck, it is adding even more to our plate. And the first to talk about is Fallen Spring Bonnie. Spring Bonnie is pretty easy. Probably the easiest character in the entire game. He is who is in camera 8, and throughout the night, he's just gonna try to stand up. If he does, then it's GG and you fucking lose. So sound the alarm on his camera and he'll sit back down. Pretty much he's just a music box, because of course this game had to add one of those. Now let's move on to probably the worst character on Earth, who was just behind Bonnie, in my opinion, Fallen Fredbear. Because the DeviantArt names haven't gotten cringe enough yet. Fredbear wants to attack you through your hall, and he's really good at it. Because unlike every other character in this game, Fredbear makes no sound cues ever, which is actually the worst thing on the planet. Once he's in your hallway, all you have to do is turn your fan off. Thankfully, this time you don't also have to flip. I really don't know why Bonnie has you do that, but what really makes Fredbear bad is the synergies he has, because not only can Bonnie and Fredbear be in the hall at the same time, but Bonnie and Foxy can be in the hall at the same time, and fuck it, I'm not kidding at all 3 of them can be in the hallway at the same time. This is actually just the worst shit anybody could ever create. This game is so fucking hard, it's not even funny. What the fuck am I even supposed to do about this bullshit? The strategy for this night is ass cheeks, I can't even lie. Really only flip your screen for Bonnie and when the screen flickers. Fuck everything else. Keep your camera on 5 to check for Foxy and never leave a vent sealed after dealing with Bonnie. Whenever you deal with a camera threat, either Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, or Chica, check your hallway and deal with whatever the fuck is there. Then check on Spring Bonnie and hope you weren't too slow, and repeat. This night is so fucking AIDS, it's really hard to put into words. And we still have another night to talk about. Look at the length of this video. We're not even close to being done yet. During the crawl space section, we get introduced to Angel Freddy. All he does is appear in front of us, and all you have to do is lift your hands off your keyboard and mouse until he goes away. Basic strategy here is always deal with Foxy first no matter what. Then deal with Freddy, then deal with Bonnie and Chica. Crawl space sections are pretty simple. There's not much to talk about, so let's just move on to night 5. Night 5 is literally just fucking chaos. All of the characters' AI are turned up to the fucking moon. I spent so much time on this night, it's not even funny. Probably one of the most challenging nights I've ever completed from any FNAF game ever, and I'm not even lying. But once we reach 4 a.m. is where this night gets interesting. At 4 a.m. a new threat appears and all of the other characters deactivate. This threat is Yellow Bear, and let's just say he wants that juicy booty badly. Once he spawns, he'll choose to start at any camera he wants and slowly make his way to your hallway. You can stall him on the cameras by using your alarm, but he'll never move backwards. But you honestly don't even need to do that, because once he's in your hallway, you can just stall him for the rest of the night by spamming the lights, so he's honestly really easy. The general strategy for this night has you start by focusing on cameras 8, 4, and 5, because Bonnie and Spring Bonnie will almost always attack you first. After dealing with them, check the hallway and camera 5 for Foxy every time you deal with Chica. Only ever check Spring Bonnie after the first time when you have a small bit of downtime, since he has to make it through 5 different phases before he kills you anyways. This night is really fucking hard until 4 a.m. and playing it for yourself would be the best way to understand it, because I quite literally do not have the vocabulary to explain to you how hard it really is. The minigame for this night is weird. There's no crawl space, but we do get the Cake Bear minigame, and this time we're a much more realistic version of Cake Bear. We walk to the right for a very long time and stumble across a withered Cake Bear, I think. I have no idea what this is, and we get the following cutscene.
I'm glad you came all this way to see me, Rats. I'd thought you'd forgotten about me. I think you realize I'm not truly your friend, but I have no reason to lie anymore. I never did. It's out of control. Things used to be so much simpler. I never had to lie. I could just exist. Now look at what I've gone and done. Inviting her and trusting her to respect what I've wanted, what I've already done. If they're a human being, a human conscious, they can never be truly trusted. I guess you already understand that. After what that man did to you, you were destined to die for so long. We've been destined to die. We were all just waiting for it. We weren't even excited. We weren't scared. We just, no, aren't you tired of this? Hasn't it gotten old? It feels like it's been an eternity. We are worn. How much longer are we going to be pushed around? Fall back onto monotony. It's better than piling on to this abomination and seeing that it crashes. Return to your old life. Kill the story. Escape.
Now, while that was weird, what we're about to see gets even fucking weirder. After completing the game, if you click load game, you'll see the words free yourself, and you'll be brought to a Pong minigame where you have to defend a fan from a bunch of whatever the fuck. I have no idea what I'm doing right now. This reminds me of the random Undertale fight from Midnight at Star Stage. After you complete this minigame, we move on to truly the most insane shit of all fucking time. So, let's start by saying that this game has 3 endings. What we just saw was the first ending, and now we're going to talk about the last 2. And if you look at the length of this video, you'll be able to tell that we're still going to be here a while. It is currently 8:30 p.m. for me while scripting, so let's lock in. Right here starts the boss fight against the Star, and it's split up into 3 different acts. So let's start with Act 1, which has us inside of the crawl space, and the only threat is obviously the Star itself, and it has 2 forms of attack. The first has him appear on either our left or right side. You will have to spam click on his nose to make him go away. Before, I could argue that the retarded mechanics in this game were because I thought the night sections were nightmares, so it didn't have to make sense, but I'm pretty certain we're completely conscious during these crawl space sections, so I have no defense for why this makes any sense, because it really just fucking doesn't. His second attack will have him say 4 random numbers. You just have to type those numbers on your keyboard for some reason, and that'll make him go away. Alright, now this really just makes no sense, because what could our character even be doing that would have anything to do with the number pad? Fuck it, whatever. Let's just move on to Act 2. Act 2 has more than just the Star boss, and something really weird about this act is that one of the other threats actually calls you and tells you how to deal with himself and the other characters, which I just found super weird. In Act 2, we move from the crawl space to another area called the Deep Zero. There are 3 threats to deal with, and thankfully they're all pretty simple. We have 2 important tools to talk about: the flashlight, which is obvious, and the top panel. Inside of the top panel, we can use a kill switch and something called revitalize, which I'm honestly not too sure the meaning of. The kill switch just cuts the power for a little bit, essentially what you do with the puppet in the main nights. Revitalization fixes distortion when your screen is flipped, because yes, that's still a central mechanic at this point of the game. Silly me, I thought I would have escaped it by now, but I guess God just hates me. Let's start by talking about the threats this act introduces. Starting with Insanity, who is the guy that called us. This guy is literally just the Wither from Minecraft, and yes, he does have an actual human skull, which I do think is pretty cool, I can't even lie. Insanity appears in your left hall with a sound cue, and he himself will never kill you. However, he will disorient you really badly. If you just use the kill switch, then he'll piss off. No real problem here. Again, the characters in this act aren't that bad. Prelude is the next threat, and I really don't know why they gave him that name. It's literally just Freddy. He moves through the cameras with a sound cue to your hallway. You will have to make sure you never look at him on the cameras. I'm not really sure why, but yeah, just don't look at him. Once he gets to your hallway, just use the kill switch, and it's easy. The Star is obviously the final threat in this act, and he has 2 ways to attack you. He will stay on camera 10 for the entire night. His first attack has him appear in your office, working in your face.
attacks. All you have to do is hit the kill switch and it'll go away. The second attack has him yell a random number for some reason, and then you'll have to go to that number's camera and stare at him. If you click the wrong camera, you die immediately, so you can't just spam through the cameras until you find him. You need to make sure you're listening, and you do this until 4 a.m. Again, this part is really easy as all of the characters aren't challenging at all. At 4 a.m., you'll be transported to the main office area from the main nights, except, as you can probably tell, it's distorted as fuck. You get a phone call saying that this will be the last place you'll go until you finally win. He tells you how to deal with him, and Act 3 finally begins. Act 3 is easily the hardest act by far, mainly because the other two were super easy. This is also the act that will decide which of the two possible endings you will get. Let's get the basics out of the way. The star has 3 ways to attack you, so let's start by talking about the easiest one. He'll move to camera 4. Once there, you'll need to close the vent as fast as possible because the star is fast as holy hell. His next attack has him go to camera 5. Once again, close the vent, but you'll also have to flash him a few times to make him go away. And finally, his third attack will have him scream like an autistic kid in Target when he sees that Pokemon have been restocked and that the scalpers haven't gotten to them yet. When this happens, he just turns into an ice slut. He will randomly move around the cameras and you'll have to hold the alarm on whichever camera he's on until he stops fucking screaming in my ears minus the S. But of course, this attack is really shitty for one reason. He teleports to a random camera when he screams, so that sucks. But the worst part is that he can move while you're using the alarm. And he doesn't just move to an adjacent camera. No, he teleports to any fucking camera he damn well pleases. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm so sick of these bullshit ass, fuck ass mechanics. Please just kill me already. I could get really mad and scream about this for the next 10 minutes, but I'm gonna be the bigger person and choose not to. Once you complete this final act, you will get the option to either lose your sanity or lose your stability, and whichever you choose will determine your ending. If you choose to lose your sanity, people reveal the crawl space and find Fritz inside of the Cake Bear suit. Fritz hears people talking faintly while he's in a coma-like state. He is then put into a mental institution and the credits roll. I suppose that makes sense. We did choose to lose all of our sanity after all, so the loony bin is probably the best place for us to go. I do think that the reveal that we've been in the Cake Bear suit the whole time is really cool, as this game basically just goes to explain where this very important character actually comes from. This is, in my opinion, a perfect example of show don't tell when it comes to storytelling, and I love to see it. However, if you choose to instead lose your stability, Fritz just gets fucking spring locked and dies inside of the Cake Bear suit. We're told that there may still be a chance to find out who the real killer is. We chase after this killer only to find the one, the only Garvey, who is obviously the one who killed the kids in this game. And thankfully, in this retelling, he didn't rape one of them for no reason at all. A spirit talks to us and is for some reason happy that we're dead. Pretty morbid, I won't lie. Since the deep isn't real, it is infinite, and the mind, I have no idea what that means. I hate FNAF lore. It's so goddamn confusing. Someone please translate. It's like what I'm seeing is Japanese or something. I really have no idea. The spirit asks us how much deeper we want to go, and then we get to see the deep 1 as opposed to the deep 0 we saw in Act 2 of the Star boss fight. In all honesty, this was just a super brief overview of both of these endings. They both have interesting minigames attached to them with some pretty cool scenes, like some does bad things guy type scene with Garvey and a bunch of dead kids. It's honestly really cool to see, and I think this game does such a good job at telling the story. Much better than the stupid fucking theater thing from Dormitibus, which just didn't feel like it fit the game at all. And apparently, both of these endings happened at the same time, getting found in the Cake Bear suit and ending up in Deep 1. It's really cool to see, even though I don't fully understand how any of it makes any sense at all. Now, of course, there are still plenty of other death minigames to talk about, so let's go ahead and get those out of the way. The first is called Missing Persons. In it, we play as a random security guard. Our task is to sneak around the pizzeria to gather information about the kids going missing. We talk to some dude named Colin and another guy named Kane and Anthony and also Peter again. There's a lot of shit going on. Just a lot of us asking questions about the missing kids. They also mentioned something about CCTV footage that we could take a look at for evidence. Eventually, there's a jump cut to a man named Mr. Jimenez with Peter. He's pissed off because his kid has been missing for 2 days, but in all honesty, I kind of call that a win. I hate kids. In the next minigame called Material Witness, we're tasked with getting the CCTV footage I mentioned earlier. As we make our way to the office, we can enter the top left side of the party room and see Shadow Freddy, which is pretty cool, I guess. Once we enter the office, we meet with Garvey. We talk to him about the missing kids, and Jeremy tells Garvey that he shouldn't hang around the back room since it's secluded and people might start suspecting him of the murder since he's the quiet type, which is very unfortunate since we all know Garvey is the one who did it. They mention how Fritz is currently the prime suspect, and that's really about it. This conversation drags on for so fucking long. I was going to get some actors to dub these minigames, but holy shit, they're so long and fucking boring. You can also pick up a key in this minigame. If you go to the office, but take a right before entering it and go into one of the party rooms, you can walk through the wall. Go down and all the way to the left and then all the way up, you will see a room with a key. We'll talk more about the keys later. The next minigame I want to talk about is called Cake Bear's Last Performance. It takes place in 1982. In it, we're around a few other people, one by the name of Alex and the other isn't named. They're talking about drinking and smoking, so you know these guys are cool. The unnamed character mentions a guy named Tom who also smokes outside, but when we go to check on him, we see something floating in the air. I have no idea what it is though. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Then the minigame ends. We can also get another key in this minigame. If we talk to the kid in the left room, then go right all the way to the wall, we can run into it until we glitch through it. Walk to the far right far enough and we find a rope with a key on it. Hooray! I love FNAF secrets. They're so cool and totally not the most annoying things of all time. The next minigame is called Corporate Ladder. We're tasked with going to Peter's office. This scene shows Trevor checking in around the building after Fritz's disappearance and the recent murders, while the company atmosphere is clearly falling apart. Kyle is trying to convince Colin that Natalie wasn't simply lost, but taken. Colin dismisses him, but Trevor steps in to remove Kyle, but Kyle storms off on his own. This is confusing, guys. I'm sorry. Trevor then talks with Garvey and John. Garvey's wearing shades like Fritz, saying it might lighten the mood since the kids miss Fritz so much. The conversation makes it clear Fritz was beloved, especially by the children. Garvey also mentions Peter has him working a double shift. Trevor then goes to Peter's office. Peter is on the phone with Mrs. Smith about someone missing and seems overwhelmed, frustrated, and defensive. After he hangs up, he snaps at Trevor, then apologizes. Peter admits he's struggling with the fallout of a quintuple homicide, the investigation, his family, and John's situation. Trevor confronts him, then brings up employee concerns about the animatronics being hostile. Peter initially dismisses it, blaming unreliable employees like Jeremy and Kane, but Trevor insists something feels wrong, especially with the tense police presence and the animatronics staring at everyone. Peter agrees to inspect them the next day, assuming it is just an optics or movement bug. Holy shit, that minigame was long as fuck. All of these minigames are. If you were to play all of the death minigames in order and actually read all of the text, it would probably take you a solid 45 minutes to get through all of it. It's actually some of the most lore-heavy shit I've ever sat through in my life, and it felt like a fucking chore. I can't even lie. I'm not having fun writing this part at all. The next minigame is called Give Gifts of Light, and holy shit, this is the longest one yet. I want to die. The puppet gives the murdered children masks and gifts, which leads to them becoming the boa, or the box of abominations. After that, Peter checks in with Jeremy about the toy animatronics. Jeremy is uneasy around one of them and asks why they don't just move it to the back, but Peter refuses because of how much money was spent on it and because investors are already putting pressure on him. Peter says the main three animatronics' eyes are malfunctioning, so he needs to get parts from the older animatronics. Peter, Trevor, and Kane head into parts and service. Kane brings up suspicion that Colin may have known more than they thought, but Peter insists Colin is likely guilty because he stole money and disappeared. Peter even says that if Colin is blamed, it might be good for them because the cops could leave. Once they enter the back room, they notice a disgusting smell. Kane says it smells like bleach and rotten pennies, not normal wastewater. While searching the old animatronic heads for ocular motors, Kane discovers blood on one of the suits, then realizes there's a body inside. Trevor finds another body too, making it clear the missing children are hidden inside of the old animatronics. Kane immediately wants to call the cops, but Peter refuses, realizing that if the public finds out, the company and their careers are finished. He pressures Kane by pointing out that Kane was responsible for maintenance checks and could be blamed for failing to find the bodies sooner. Trevor then offers a darker solution. He knows a guy who can make the problem go away. The scene ends with Peter deciding to cover everything up. Kane is terrified and wants no part in it, but Trevor tells him all he has to do is walk away and stay silent. Kane agrees in exchange for his tuition being paid and his name being kept out of it. Peter agrees as long as Kane makes sure Anthony and Jeremy never find out. Trevor then warns him he saw nothing, he heard nothing, and knows nothing. And there's only one minigame left to talk about called Loose Ends. Who gives a fuck about what the people are saying? The cool part is that Jeremy gets the Bite of 87 special. Hooray! I'm finally done talking about these fucking minigames. There's still one more thing I want to mention, however, and that is the diary. After completing night 5 for the first time, we unlock it. It's incredibly long, but I guess I'll actually read this one to you. Editor, put a mix of Subway Surfers, GTA cars falling down shit, and some other bullshit that's fun to watch in a compilation on the side of the screen while I read this. Yes, I may answer if you tap the glass. School will be missed, and its many exploits or stunts. From plenty of people other than myself, having a hand in so many things, call it calculated immaturity, has let me write about it here. So I'm leaving high school with many stories, and I see this as important. I don't remember any cases where staff actually let themselves believe I had done what I'd done, despite being clearly told, so it must be true that I'm naturally sweet, believable, and appealing. I'd hope for this not to change. Try hard, I don't know if the competition, or I'd say maybe superiority complex of school can really exist as well in the following life. This is okay. Of course, F have been ready for a long time to move ahead from this and do worthwhile things. Brandon and I are still happily friends. He's the type to be friends with almost anyone, of course. With so many large meetings, even parties, at his house I found often attended with Greg, Patricia, Anderson, and the likes. So, of course, we will all meet for graduation. June 1st. 1955. Yes, I may answer if you tap the glass. I have delayed the writing of the note for some time due to all my time spent with a certain young man, possibly described as a lonely, pathetic, bumbling, wannabe greaseball, desperately failing maturity, never quite let into the gatherings, but watching prom afar. Usually watching me. He's 16, 2 years younger than me. He's only around because he's Brandon's younger brother, Alex White. I think there is a spark of genius in this young man that I would do good to blossom with, though, if anything. I would even say this is obvious to me. Just because someone is different from how they naturally appear doesn't mean they're intentionally lying. Everyone does it. It's normal. Follow me. I'm a friendly rabbit. June 1st, 1955. Mex drowns. There is truth to it. I'm trying to gauge and measure. There's also the fact that engineering is ridiculous and doesn't make sense. I'm half joking, of course, although I do obviously question physics, nature. So is he literally spraying himself with maturity? What brilliant symbolism. But no, seriously, it was all that they had for some reason. This is oddly hyper-specific, but he's like the type of person that wouldn't go through the effort or pain or severing their arm to save a child. But you know, I sure feel bad about it for the rest of their life, and overcompensate by sculpting hundreds of fake arms. Actually, well, I guess we wouldn't know, unless somehow that scenario really did play out. Last night we were sitting by the creek. I wanted to relax after I attended the ceremony. I was lost in thought. He was left. He realized a deep sadness was forming in his eyes, so he moved his head completely to the right, causing the back of his head to face me. He tries to hide his weakness from me, from all women, from anyone, but I haven't seen it, and I remember his face. I study his sadness from the traces, and I look past his skull. Luna 17th, 193 question mark. Come asylum. Unbelievable. I must state this in here right now. I will never stand for this. Know that people who'd ever talk about themselves or question anything would tell me my disconnected world vein, my disconnect from humanity, stems from a discontent for my own life, a mental condition that impedes me from connecting to people, a simple sickness or defect, a fault. Sam above deep or nuanced human connection because I have been past humanity. I cannot, because Thou existed in places these other people have never even dreamed of. I was born a higher being and I will give everything to myself. I know people would say this to me because I have seen it on my own, as I have seen everything. My mind is not human. Oh, was born in a human body. I can exist under this facade for as long as I swant. It is control. It is not hard to smile, no feelings. Feelings are an idea that can be bent at will if you are not content to mindlessly lie to yourself. If I want not to love someone, I will not love them. Oh me. There is no reason it can't be this simple. I will not let anyone lie to me. I will wall in and take everything. I will not waste effort of writing about the incident that happened earlier today that lead me to record this sentiment. Damn Alex. He knows not what he does. He understands not what he says. He has always been a lost soul. They have no obligation to save him. He is unsavable. He will sink into his depression unconvertibly. He He will always appreciate that S picked him up and showered him in my influence, even if there. November 13th, 1963. Come asylum. A day that he may not admit. Think my he, so hell is too close hilarity. He has never been shoved away and forgotten like he acts like he has. I'm not going to reach out to those quacks and charlatans. This notebook is my institution. It is the only place with order, where all the words are set in a place for a reason. The only place with true reason. Would they really be willing to lock away someone as pertly, softly spoken, well-spoken as me? Yes, of course. They would love it. Shut me in a room and leave a little peephole in the wall so they could watch the grime build up in the room and let it infect and toil within me and watch my beauty break into pieces, watch all of me fall apart, and they'd savor it. My mother warning me of issues of mental commitment when I was young is the last thing she has ever done for me. I've written this bit later. Late tonight, I found Alex sitting at the television watching an investigative report called Suffer the Little Children on NBC. I don't write about it because there's nothing to say that my mom hadn't told me back then, but I've still been watching Ticket to Foilies this year. I was trying to hide from Alex how much I was studying his face, and thankfully he was entranced and not thinking of me in those moments. There was a lot you could gauge from his face during that time. The secondhand guilt and parental pain is there, yes, but he definitely does not care about those children. He's an apathetic person, especially when it comes to outside situations. November 23rd, 1963. But you know he is thinking of John. He always thinks of John. John is his own. Still, I cannot imagine Alex will have money for John's 5th birthday tomorrow. I obviously know I won't. And holy fucking shit, that's it. That was confusing. It was written exactly how I said it. It's so fucked up. I think I'm done. I think this is officially everything Crawl Space has to offer. Oh my god, this was a crazy long ride, and this took such a long time to research and write, record, and edit. I want to thank Triz, the guy who's been helping me do research for the past 3 videos. I couldn't have done this without him as fast as I did. Thank you to my editor Al, because this video is a fucking mess, and he made it somewhat comprehensible. Overall, Crawl Space is an amazing retelling of the Dormitibus story, minus all the disgusting shit that was in the original. As I said, this is the first game in a 3-part series, so you already know I'll be covering the others when they come out. I think this game is really fucking hard, but it is still super cool at the same time, and I would recommend you at least give it a try. Oh yeah, and by the way, it's currently 9:54 p.m. as I'm writing this, so this has been about the last 4 hours of my life in this fucking Google Doc. Well, let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think the community should have completely left Dormitibus behind? Let me know in the comments below. In my 5 Newfangled Nights video, I asked you guys who your favorite mainline FNAF animatronic was, and my favorite answer was this one by Civic26. They said OG Bonnie, and I like that answer, mainly because of the fun fact that OG Bonnie was the only character that actually scared Scott. The question of this video is, what is your favorite part about Crawl Space, and why? The question of the video being asked, subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. Thank you to these 3 talented artists for your fan art. You can submit yours in the Discord, link in the description. Thank you to all of my super fan channel members. You guys are the only reason I didn't end my life scripting this video. I've been Dexter, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!